Oh, we are here and we are live. Let's take a look here. There we go. We are live. Let's take a look here. You shut up. There we go. So, let's get this shit started. I just woke up and I don't care. I feel great. Actually, I don't. You don't really get sleep the way I need to. It really is unfortunate. It's unfortunate to not get sleep, especially with all these different games that we have that already came out. You know what I mean? I'm beating these games as we go. That's the only way that I can do them. I can't do them any other way, man. Like I'm trying So I'm gonna take my time. I would have never guessed that, in January, no less, in the beginning of the year, you get so many good games out here. It all started with what happened in January, actually. Let me see. There was a couple games I picked up. What was the other game that I picked up? Tales of Arise. That was one game that I've actually picked up. Then February, all hell broke loose. Oh, Sifu. Sifu, I told myself I was going to pick up Sifu, and then lo and behold, here's my black ass, picking up another freaking game. Just couldn't believe it. And so, because of this, I hope that, I get some relief over time. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just a tad bit groggy. Let's take a look here. Let's go over all my games before we get this shit started, actually. But yeah, welcome to the No Filter podcast. We got two subjects to talk about. The first topic is Sony no longer being the media's darling. And the second topic is going to be about high budget equals corporate. And I should probably type in there greed. That was the one thing I forgot rushing. So, and these are some things that I've been noticing. Well, I'll save that there before we go on. I'll save it. I'll save that shit. So there's been like stupid one-offs. Last year, I ended up beating Demon Souls finally. After a whole year. That's what it was. So I picked up Dying Light, thinking that I was going to be okay. Actually, I picked up the definitive edition of Grand Theft Auto. And I'm sitting there chilling, a little bit of illin', you know what I mean? I'm thinking everything's sweet and shit. And I can't stream the game and actually play and actually go into the map. So for some of the games, I think GTA 3 works. Vice City now works, and then San Andreas, it didn't work. So I ended up beating GTA 3, of course. It's probably the most polished of the three. But I'm going into this new year. I probably end up beating Control. I did not beat Kena, Bridge of Spirits. That game was a lot longer than you think it was. So there's been some PS Plus games. What's going on, Jemiah? There's been some PS Plus games. Hell Let Loose. I wanted to always play, but I don't have people to play them fucking games with. That's the biggest problem. That's the issue of this matter. So, that's always a problem here. So I'll share with a tweet here. Whatever. So there's that. I've already beaten Metro Exodus. I played that last year, and then I played it again because of the ray tracing patch. I started playing Ratchet and Clank. I shouldn't have started playing these games. I should have shut the fuck up and kept it moving. But I ended up picking up Riders Republic. This is all like late last year. But fast forward to like January, or close to January. I said I was going to pick up Sifu. I still ended up playing that, at least to try it out. Because I was like, it's probably going to be a short game. And it's a pretty damn good game. You know what I'm saying?
It has the art styles of that Incredibles movie, which is incredible. But you have Tales of Arise. I was recommended that. Um, Cyberpunk just released an update to fix a lot of things, so it's full fledged. You know, it's a full fledged the PS5 game, not because of graphics, but the crowd density and stuff like that is there. I think the AI in general has been reworked, which means that the missions and stuff like that has been reworked as well. They give you two modes. Of course, the ray tracing with the shadows, which is fucking awesome. Um, but the problem with the Red engine is that it has crazy latency. So even though it looks good, it's still kind of, it's very heavy feeling, very delayed. If you have game mode not on your TV, it's unplayable. That's how heavy it is. Like you need all the little milliseconds you can get. But regardless of the matter is they came out with the patch. There was a problem with the crowd AI, right? So like if your car touches a pedestrian, it was automatic death sentence, which if they died, pedestrians would see it and report the fucking crime. And then you had like 2-3 stars. So now they fixed it to the point where, most of these people have cybernetic, updates to their body and shit like that. So that's all cool. They can get up and everything's good in the hood with that one. But now I got to play that as well because I put it on hold. So we have Seafood that I needed to fucking play. And then we have Dying Light. I picked that shit up. I was thinking like they said it's $500, which is pure grinding, so to speak, yo. So pure grinding. But I was like, let me just mainline this fucking game and call it a day. Nope. That game is way longer than I anticipated. Couldn't finish that. Couldn't finish Seafood. Couldn't finish Tales of Arise or any of my other games. I already knew that The Witcher wasn't going to be touched for a little bit. And I ended up starting playing Gravity Rush 2 when I started hearing that the creator wanted to make a third one. And I got hyped again. Of course, I did my little practice with Guilty Gear. But then Gran Turismo came out, Elden Ring came out, and then there's a whole debacle with that one, but I won't really dive into that shit. So Elden Ring came out. That's a larger game than I anticipated as well. Horizon is way larger than I anticipated. I thought I was able to beat that shit in like 20 hours. And I ended up beating it, but I almost beat no side missions or anything else. And those side missions are like DLC. Which game is larger, Elden Ring or Horizon? I hate comparing these two, but I think Elden Ring is larger. Just the entire map or whatever the case is. How dense it is the fucking question. But that's another topic for another day. But that's what's been going on. I've been slaughtered, the straight slaughterhouse of of games. And then Gran Turismo, I'm playing that shit, and I can't even right now. I can't even. All I could do is chip away at all. Well, I'm not playing Control. That's not going to happen. I can't. I got to chip away at these heavy hitter blockbusters that released in the first quarter, and then I can start moving on to Kana and Tales of Arise and shit like that, and then I'll be good. And speaking of which, how come Blue Box Studios hasn't done anything with their abandoned demo that they said they were going to do at the beginning of the year? Because we're like almost past the first quarter, my homies, and then they wonder why there's no good faith, man. Sir, people, whatever his name is assigned, do this shit better. And then you click onto the shit. They say, experience a cinematic story in realistic gameplay, and then you try loading this bitch up. Come back later. Ain't this a bitch? Oh, and then also, let me say this too. I've been kind of yammering away just to kind of, make shit work. What's going on, Lionel? I didn't even see your ass. Also, Returnal. In my typical prophetic state, I saw it in my dreams that Returnal was going to come up with a co-op. And they came out with a co-op and blew it out of the fucking water, yo. It almost makes me not even want to play the free DLC that came out, which, by the way, Sony does a lot of free DLC that people tend to overlook. You know, they are so fixed on a games as a service, having microtransactions and being always online for some reason. I'm just curious to see the fuck. So foolishness. I believe June or July was the first time. I'm still looking at this shit too. Abandon was kind of like shown with the demo, and then there was a whole debacle. We are almost a year later, and nothing. Ain't that a bitch? Crazy, isn't it? So we want to go directly to the topics. I think I've yammered on enough. And, you know, obviously I have my little hump day on Wednesdays on the YouTube channel, which is also called Gamecast. And we spoke about the updates and things of that nature, the PlayStation 5 update and the Spartacus, which now we get more information on. Don't be fooled by this fake piece of paper, this fake, what is it? PNG screenshot that people have been circulating with typos all over the fucking place. That's supposed to be, you know, the story and shit like that. It's crazy how people want a piece of that action in terms of, you know, being noticed or getting these clicks from the negative news of Sony. It's really funny. Lionel, can you hear me? Or am I not making any sounds? Blink twice if you can hear me. So let's kick off the first topic, which we have here. First topic is Sony no longer the darling, the media's darling. And I'm going to actually break this shit down. I've spoken to other friends about this bullshit, about Sony being, you know, the media darling. This is back when the gaming, I want to say ecosystem. That's not the word I'm looking for. When the whole gaming economy or the whole gaming, well, I guess the game industry was going to collapse. At least people believed it to, you know, be in a collapse state. And Microsoft pulled out this shit, this DRM shit, which everybody was completely like at that point in time floored. And how could you do such a thing? What's going on, Fatal? Yeah, you hear me? All right, cool. So totally, they totally was like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? I can't believe that Microsoft would do such a thing. You know what I'm saying? During this, you know, basically it's, you know, we already paying $60 and now we're doing it TV only shit. You know what I'm saying? So people were like not a fan of that shit. And then you had Sony come out there with this shit. Talking about, you know, you don't have to use the DRM. You're all set. You're straight. All you got to do is just give your game to your friend and it will work. We won't implement DRM. And then they released a console that was actually $100 cheaper than the competition. And it was about, 30 to 40% more powerful as well. And people lost their fucking minds with Sony. It was like Sony has a lot of goodwill. And then in the middle of this shit, Sony sprinkled in, you have to start paying online to play, which was absolutely free for like the 7 years that the PS3 was out. But it was so much good news that people kind of like, was like, yeah, that was kind of sneaky. You know, I mean, I didn't like it. But ultimately, I am paying for Xbox Live, and they are allowing us to actually play. We have a rental service baked into this online thing. So they allowed them to slide on that shit. And the talk came for everybody. It came out of nowhere. But it ain't came out of nowhere. But people were like, yo, I mean, I got a console. It's a new controller. I like the feel of this controller, but at the same time, it's not better than Xbox. So yeah, those people that refused to go over and they wanted to die with the sinking ship, essentially. So eventually, Sony, I mean, people start complaining about the output of games with Sony. And Sony was actually at the time releasing their games, like the shows, the showings of the games years in advance. So I remember people calling the the PS4 an indie machine. Nobody was going to want that fucking indie machine. I remember that shit happening, and people were like really was like, where are the AAA games? Where are the AAA games? Where's the AAA games? Sony showed, eventually they started to come out. A couple months later, you had Infamous Second Son, and then people were like, yeah, this is a beautiful looking game. This is why I bought the PlayStation 4 for Killzone 2, or excuse me, Killzone Shadowfall looks nice. It looks beautiful. It's a boring fucking game, and I'd rather play Call of Duty or whatever game that was out. So they were looking for something that was like The Last of Us or Uncharted 2 and 3 or the Killzone 3. And they just didn't have that ready at the time, which was understandable because it was a whole new architecture and a whole new fucking generation. So Killzone, no one liked. Infamous, people were like, it's not the best Infamous. And it's not the best Infamous to me. It feels like a very watered down Infamous. I don't like his power, whether he can steal it or not. It was very copied and paste. Like, he has so many different powers, and it was no real difference other than a palette swap. So I wasn't really feeling that shit either. Cool. So that shit was going on. And what ended up happening was, let me just think here. They came out and they announced that Bloodborne was coming out. So Bloodborne came out. A Souls game is not for everybody. Let me be clear on that. It is not for fucking everybody. But most of the fanboys are out there saying that this is one of the greatest games of this generation. High quality from software, stuff like that. It was an exclusive, and it was better than any exclusive that Sony put out at the time. Jemiah, if you want to jump in, I don't know. Let me see if I can invite you. There we go. I see you like leaving in and out, and I wasn't sure what was going on there. But yeah, after Infamous came out, it was the best, like, what do you call it? Bloodborne was like the best game that Sony had put out there. And to be honest with you, it really wasn't their game. It was From Software. It was with the help of them. So when people were like, yo, I mean, this game is not for me. It's too hard. I mean, I get the quality or whatever the case is. What else do you have for me, right? And then people came out and they, Uncharted 4 came out. You know, that was delayed. That was a whole debacle. People were complaining about, what's her name again? The black chick, Nadine, being voiced by Laura Bailey, her being white. I believe, what's his name? Greg Miller from fucking whatever, Kind of Funny, was complaining about her being black. And voiced by a white character. So that was a big fucking debacle. That was fucking terrible. What a terrible time we were in back then, man. So fucking stupid, so dumb. It was already starting back then when people just kept complaining about, you know, just dumbass shit. It's like they didn't have anything to complain about. And then we had the E3, the infamous E3 that showed all the new games that were going to come out within the next 2 years. You had Horizon Zero Dawn, which was a crazy looker. You had God of War, which the reception on that one was through the roof. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shenmue, like everything you could possibly dream of was in that bitch, ready to fucking go. And Sony looked like they were the hero for that shit. They did. They looked like they were the absolute heroes of that show. And just the gaming industry, because Nintendo was doing I think the Switch came out and then people were kind of complaining about the weak power. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, Breath of the Wild was nice and shit like that, but it wasn't proven at the time because it wasn't released. And then Microsoft was doing DRMs and they were canceling fucking games. There was a lot of shit that was going on with Microsoft and people just did not want them there. Because a lot of the shit that they were doing was super hyper egregious for sure. This is when everything started to turn. All of the success that Sony was getting, and it took a really, like, it was like everything that Sony touched was fucking absolute gold. Everything that they touched was gold. Anything that they could do was absolute gold. Anything. You know what I mean? Everything was a fucking hit. And then people were looking at this one game that they did show. I think the next E3, They showed The Last of Us Part 2 as well. So you had the next E3 show Days Gone. People were like, that doesn't look that great. You know what I'm saying? That looks like a boring zombie game, a Ubisoft game and shit like that. That's the negative thing that they always like to say. It's just a Ubisoft game, right? So that's what was going on. And then let me see here. Who said something? My poor boy, is that if the UB developer didn't talk shit about From Software, we wouldn't be here. I'm not even engaging this idiot. God damn it. Maybe I will engage this stupid bitch. What's going on, Jemiah? Maybe I will engage this idiot. He says,
What's good?
What's going on, man? So I'm just going to finish my monologue and then we can proceed with the subjects here. So when Days Gone came out, people were pissed. People were making all these crazy ass narratives about a gruff white man, about racist developers because they were nothing but white zombies. The storyline was poor, and the game ended up getting like an 80 something. I don't even fucking remember because I don't really care too much. But it ended up getting like an 80 something. And then that was a streak of Sony showing faults. So they were fallible, people were saying. So they were fallible. And, people were kind of laughing at the whole Days Gone thing. They made memes about it. I think it was Deacon St. John saying, his wife saying, ride me like you ride the bikes or whatever the case is. They were like, oh, that's misogyny. Oh, boy, that was like Sony wasn't catching a break at the time. And then the leak of fucking The Last of Us came the fuck out about, Sony killing their beloved. And it was very SJW. People were saying it was videos upon videos about, how Sony was kind of behaving for social media clout, which, I'm inclined to believe, truthfully. I'm not even gonna hold you. So there was that. And all right, so we got that shit going on. All the while, Breath of the Wild came out. They've been saying that game is not a Ubisoft type game. It breaks the mold. It did things absolutely fucking new. You don't need graphics. Graphics is such high production is soulless, is what was going on. Horizon was soulless. They didn't have the pristine. That was an 80 something too, but it got a really poor score from this outlet that was trying to get clout that way. So that was one of the first victims of Sony, having that fucking clout and being demolished by that shit. So that was a fucking disaster. Then Spider-Man came out after the whole, I think it was after the whole debacle of the last. No, it wasn't. Spider-Man came out and everybody loved it. Even though that got an 80, everybody fucking loved that Spider-Man game and ended up selling 20 million units and shit like that. God of War came out. That shit was fire. People liked that shit. And then The Last of Us came out. That got nothing but, 9s and 10s. And the media hated it because of what it did. And then you had Ghost of Tsushima. People were saying that it was finally a, what do you call it? I want to say cybernetic. That's not what I want to say. Samurai Ubisoft game. Like, what the fuck is a Ubisoft game? It's the funny thing I've ever, I just, every time I hear that shit, it's like ridiculous. So they said that shit was a Ubisoft game. And then we come to the close of the generation where weird stuff started happening, where Sony started putting games on PC, saying that they were going to put games on PC, and people just was like, I don't like the messaging that's going on. It was a combination of Sony doing all of these things too close together. Things have to gradually happen, but because of the pandemic and everything else, Sony has to make moves. Any company needs to make moves. Microsoft doubled down on the same, idea with Game Pass, and that's pretty much it. Everything's going to go to Game Pass day and date, and that was the promise. But they haven't really released any worthy games or anything long enough to call like it to be AAA, and that's what kind of fucked them in general. But Sony was too big. That was the problem. Even though all these faults were happening, even Nintendo kind of kept up. Even though they didn't have the power, Nintendo fucking kept up with the games and the qualities that they had. You know what I mean? It was irrefutable at that point. But no one cares. Nintendo lives in its own fucking bubble, and Nintendo is allowed to do shit that no other person is allowed to do, probably because of the tenure, of them being there for so long. So that was another issue. Nintendo was doing some fucked up shit. They have a fucked up online service. No one questioned them on that one. Their game prices are all fucked up, but they never dropped the fucking price for that one. Everybody allowed that shit to fucking go on. It may not be microtransactions, but I'm gonna tell you one thing: that online shit, I'm telling you straight up, yo, doesn't deserve to be there when it's half baked. Microsoft tried to double the price for fucking Xbox Live during this time. And then Sony everyone wanted to know what Sony was doing. Sony was quiet. People say that, Sony wasn't doing things that they should be doing, that they were cocky because they were quiet. They weren't saying their plans. And then they showed the fucking logo. They showed the controller. And then they showed the console. And then everybody laughed about the console looking like a fucking router. But then everybody fucking went on to go buy it like fucking crazy. And then there was a whole bunch of promises about the fucking teraflops, and we found out that didn't mean anything. Just like Mark Cerny basically said the year prior. So now we are in the current times, right? And Sony has made a lot of changes that people don't like. They don't want the games to be on PC. Everything that Sony does is wrong. Even when it's right, it's wrong. Games look too good. Horizon, it looks, the graphics, they focused on the graphics too much, you know what I mean? The game, to me, I wish it was more of a stylistic type of game, which it is. Like, I hear all sorts of bullshit. And people don't want Sony to win anything. They've been winning for so fucking long. They don't want them to win it. They lost their darling card, you know what I'm saying? Because they kind of saved the console industry because Microsoft wasn't going to do it. Nintendo wasn't going to do it. And now people don't want to see him on top. Jemiah, what you got to say about this?
About them not wanting Sony to be on top?
About them not wanting to be, the media and just regular people not wanting Sony to be on top, and Sony lost their darling card, essentially. My bad. I know I was kind of monologuing, but I was already in sentence and shit.
I mean, I think that it happens with anything that's been so dominant for so long. People start to get tired of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think the Sony fanboys or fandom doesn't help. You know what I mean?
Right.
The constant bragging and bullshit. You know what I mean? Just the constant grandstanding and running around on Twitter every day harassing people and shit. I think people get tired of that shit. You know what I mean? And then some of those people became journalists and influencers and shit, and they may have a couple gripes, you know what I mean, with the fandom, and then take it out on Sony in some cases. You know what I mean? I can't, the media itself, I think they still give Sony a lot of leeway depending on the game itself. You know what I mean? When God of War comes out, it's gonna get a 90 something. I guarantee you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think when they can take shots, they take shots at Sony, And as far as people talk about Ubisoft games, Assassin's Creed Valhalla made over $1 billion. So you want to talk shit about Ubisoft games, but these games are making money hand over fist. So apparently somebody likes that formula. You know what I mean? I just find it funny that all of a sudden having a map is somehow a bad thing now in this day and age. But yeah, people say with games like Elden Ring or whatever, people are spending freaking 20 hours online looking at fucking builds and looking at maps and looking at where people are and shit. So it's you need that to make it more easy for you to play the game as far as knowing where shit is. So you're not just wandering around in case you don't want it to explode your door or some shit. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's the crazy thing too, man. Okay, so I was just kind of looking at Ghostwire Tokyo, right? And you probably seen it, but I'll basically bring it up or whatever the case is. The guy, they're supposed to be talking about the technical stuff about the game, right? And one thing I didn't notice is that they totally want the Ubisoft-like game, and it's what the fuck is that? Because they have icons with a fucking map. and that you have to go to places to unlock parts of the map. I don't understand these fucking journalists. It's fucking crazy. I ended up putting this there. I said this negative tone of calling every game Ubisoft because of map icons and locked areas need to stop. I personally think it's pretentious, and it diminishes the hard work the developers have to do to get things running. There's a formula that, like you just adequately fucking put, they fucking like it. Clearly. You know what I'm saying? And like people just do a whole roundabout to do the same thing. Like there's no fucking tutorial. So you go online and do a tutorial because the developer didn't put a tutorial in the fucking game. Like, what are we doing? What is this? You know what I mean?
Like in a game as vast as like say Horizon Forbidden West, like if you didn't have a map or map icons, that shit would be super annoying. Just to, you know what I mean? Like I get wanting to explore and find things and discover things for yourself, but if that's the case, don't open the fucking map. Like you have control over that. You know what I mean? You don't have to use the map of Horizon at all if you don't want to. When you're looking for something, you know what I mean? Like the quest givers tell you, hey, east of this establishment or what's a settlement, you know what I mean? And you can go to that settlement and then east of it, you know what I mean? Find the place. But some people don't want to do that, and so the developers put it in the game so it's easier for people. Like I said, back in the day, and most games like that didn't have maps for you to go look at and none of that, or directions or anything. And over time, people found that to be annoying. So the developers catered to people, and they put it into the game. And now all of a sudden, it's seen as some kind of hindrance and some Ubisoft-like slander for no apparent reason other than the fact that Elden Ring didn't have it.
You break up a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on with it.
Now, I didn't hear anybody else complaining about maps and shit in other games. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, you got a map here where icons. Like, that shit never came up.
Jamai, you breaking up real bad.
What?
You were breaking up really bad.
Like, is it like lag or is it like you can't hear me?
You sound like you're botting, like digital.
I'm not sure.
Like I can hear you loud and clear. Now it's good. But I'm a piggyback off what you said too. Do you remember when they released GTA 3? You remember that shit?
On PS, on the
PS2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you remember the jewel case had a whole fucking map? You remember that shit?
Yeah, I have it hung up in my kitchen.
Yeah. It had a map. It had a map in there, right? Even though they had an in-game map, but they had a map in there, right? Cool. So people they was like, I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So did Jack and Dexter. So they start putting maps in game. That was progress. You know what I'm saying? Now it's not progress to put maps and icons in the fucking game. So you can say that I found that out automatically. You know, I found this area by myself when you really didn't. You went online for a strategy guide. Like the game will be way longer than 100 fucking hours. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. They had an in-game map, but they had a map. Okay, just making sure. Yeah, but probably just a Twitter fucking thing. But yeah, it's like, all of a sudden, and just to go back to the conversation I was saying, like I said before, and I think you were saying something like this yesterday. People are really ridiculous when it comes to being, like, this isn't about necessarily Sony. This is about, like you adequately put, look at this fucking dude, yo. I don't have time for this dude. I'm reading the dude, this dude's shit, right? He says this, by the way. This is what do you call it? He comments on the tweet that I just did. He says, "Funny you say it diminishes the work of the developers when this started because a Ubisoft developer was finishing the work of a FromSoft developer." I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And I was like, it was always a fucking stupid argument. This is talking about the whole Ubisoft-like games. And I'm like, Bro, this has always happened since the fucking what do you call it? The other Assassin's Creeds. You know what I'm saying? It was that kind of formula. And he says, "My poor boy, this is about the developer that talks shit about From Software." And I'm like, it has nothing to do with the developer. I was like, people have been saying this. This has everything to do with it. That this meme is a direct result of it. Okay, fucking, I don't got time for idiots. It's just it's stupid to me when I hear that shit. Like, and honestly, what's going on, Stranded? Honestly, my situation is this, because people love to hate shit that is popular. That has always been, even like back then in the 90s, has always been a situation where if something is popular, it was always cool to fucking say that, it was kind of crap. Call of Duty at the time kept selling what it was selling. You know what I'm saying? Madden kept selling what it was selling. 2K was selling what it was selling. And then that's what creates this kind of monster. They don't like the popular shit. You know what I mean? So when things become popular, that's when people are like, I don't like this shit. Because people want to just all the time say that things that are popular is a fucking issue. You know what I'm saying? But my question to you, Jemiah, hopefully this shit doesn't break up, is why is Nintendo able to get away with high-ass fucking prices for their games? You know what I'm saying? And doing the same things over and over like their Pokemon games. You know what I mean? Without any innovation or very little innovation. Or poor hardware. Why are they able to do that if that's the case? And they're popular as well.
Because, like I said, Nintendo's fandom doesn't act like Sony's fandom. You know what I mean? Like, Nintendo's are just weirdo dudes. Like, they're like not really on Twitter talking about shit. You don't hear people bragging about Mario Kart 8, whatever, selling like 40 million copies. You know what I mean? Like, Mario Kart 8 is like 40 or 50 million copies sold. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? But you would never hear that shit or know about it unless you looked it up. Sony fanboys have gone out their way to trash developers, trash other consoles, trash, executives. Like, your fandom, this fandom, the Sony fandom, has gone on their way to make a lot of enemies. And now the chickens have come home to roost. A lot of those fanboys are now like Destin and all these like PlayStation, these Xbox fanboys. Now they're journalists. Now they're influencers. Now they have websites and shit. So now they're like Survivor definitely had some kind of vendetta against Sony. So not you in general, but the PlayStation fanboys made so many enemies, and people were sick of hearing their shit all the time about Sony only has 90 rated bangers and shit, and now dudes are taking them down a peg. You know what I mean?
Well, I can't even get mad at you on that one. It's irrefutable to hear that shit. You know what I'm saying? And pretty humbling. It's just it is what it is. People don't like that fucking talk, man. They just don't. Like, it's really fucking stupid and it's petty. You see it all the time online. You know what I mean? We got these games. It's like it gets tiring to me that likes Sony stuff. Like, even though I have a Sony Xperia, Sony TV and shit like that, I would never like say that something is worse. Everything has their own. That's not a kumbaya statement either. Every company has their pros and cons. You know what I'm saying? Even when it comes to Microsoft, they have their fucking pros and cons as well. Not many pros, but it is what it is. There's some things that Sony does that is archaic, and it's not good. I don't like it. They were focusing on backwards compatibility when Sony wasn't. You know what I mean? So you got that situation. The smart delivery thing, it's a lot of like little things like that makes me, I'm like, how come Sony can't fucking make a decent UI? Like, why are they always fixing the fucking shit up, But it is what it is. But I would never call it out and say that it's worse in that regard. To me, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think you hit the nail on the head. People are fucking tired of the Sony fandom, man. Even Sony people that like, that likes the Sony games are tired of seeing this shit all the time, because it's like they get egg on their face anytime Sony does something. Like, there's people that cry out, "Come on, Sony, don't put these games on PC. It just diminishes what's going on." When really, the only reason why you had an issue is because you can't use that rhetoric anymore. You know?
Yeah, people are like you know how these Sony fandom are and shit. Like even with like the Metacritic thing, like when Sony games don't score a certain score, like the fandom attacks the Metacritic. Even like Days Gone, rightfully so. That whole Sarah thing and Deacon wearing a hat in the church, that shit was a little bit outrageous for a reviewer to even bring that up. But the reaction from the Sony's fanboys attacking them, it was just too much. You know what I mean? Like, you think that those journalists don't get tired of that shit, or tired of seeing their Twitter mentions full up with these dudes harassing them all the time? You know what I mean? And if they give a game a 79 instead of an 80, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt their website. You know what I mean?
Even if they're not fans, the journalists are not like Xbox fanboys. They still get attacked. Like, they can't say anything wrong, or else they get fucking attacked. And they shouldn't be really getting shit wrong anyway. But, you know, it's a combination of people trying to, you know, like the whole, like, you tell me, I know you're not going to get it, but there's this Gran Turismo outcry. We got other games that does microtransactions and always online. And Sony literally got fucking crucified for it. You know what I'm saying? So, what's your take on that?
I think it first started with VGC talking about how the cars were like whatever more expensive than GT Sport, even though you can't buy cars in GT7. It's always like a different type of mechanic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it started with that article saying that you have to spend all this money to buy these cars. And then the outage didn't help. The 30-hour outage didn't help because like apparently people didn't realize the game was online until that happened.
Right.
So I think it's a combination of journalists trying to stir shit up and make stories or make headlines to get clicks, and also the community itself dying for some negative Sony news. You know what I mean? And them piling on, you know what I mean? But you even had some PlayStation guys acting like the game was super grindy and Sony was doing them wrong, like you know what I mean? So like, I just think that people are easily influenced to think a certain way in any type of community, and it seems like gamers are the most easily influenced by these articles or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of it's also just console war shit. So a bunch of Xbox dudes probably went and gave it a bad score. And, like a bad user score and all that shit. And Sony probably saw that shit and was like, yeah, we didn't want to deal with this fucking headache. And it's not going to cost us any money to give them 1 million credits or tweak the races. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they just did it just so people could shut the hell up. Just like with the whole Horizon Forbidden West a free upgrade. You know what I mean? They had no intentions of giving you a free upgrade, but they only did it because it appeased Twitter, the Twitter mob. And then after that, they told you every other game is going to be a $10 upgrade. So instead of getting Uncharted Lost Arts of the what's it called? Thieves Collection or whatever. What the fuck is it called? Collection. What's it called? Legacy of Thieves Collection. That should have been a free upgrade. I have the fucking Nathan Drake Collection, and I have Lost Legacy, and I have Uncharted 4. Why am I paying for another game, the same game, for an upgrade? You know what I mean? These arguments and these battles people think they're winning is not the battles that they should be fighting. You know what I mean? And right. They're led by these influencers, which is making them make bad decisions for their gaming.
Yeah, because it's always good to get these, the moral high ground type of stances on Twitter, and you get all these fucking likes and shit like that. So everybody just was like, yo, I got all these people liking my shit, and you get that obvious dopamine hit, you know what I'm saying? When you get all those likes. And it's funny that you mentioned the whole Twitter mob situation, and the upgrades and stuff like that. What they're not understanding is that, like you said before, eventually that shit's they're gonna have clauses and shit like, well, we already told you that this was gonna happen. So you can't say that we didn't tell you. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. And, that's what I was going to say. So guess what happened? The VGAs right now? You know, what month are we in? March right now?
Yeah, they're talking about Game of the Years. What's your Game of the Year? Yeah.
Right, what? Like what?
Well, like the VGAs has been pushing Elden Ring for the last two. Like I said, the last 2 years, it's been the most anticipated game. Even though Cyberpunk pre-orders had more pre-orders than actual Elden Ring sales. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, how can that be the most anticipated game when Cyberpunk clearly selling gangbusters? You know what I mean? So I don't get that. I don't get how people are like always already questioning, like, is God of War coming out? Like, bro, it's March. Like, what? Like, you want them to market God of War before they market the games that are coming out before God of War? Does that make any sense? You wouldn't have God of War marketing in January when Horizon's coming out in February. You want God of War marketing in February when GT7 came out in March. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. These fans and these people like are you have to have devs come out and say the game's coming out. Even with State of Play, State of Play got so crazy with people saying that this is gonna happen, this is gonna be there, that you have to come out now before every State of Play and tell you this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna have 14 minutes of Hogwarts. That's it. Don't say anything else. Don't write any articles. Don't tweet us. This is it. Because this whole Twitter shit has become out of control with people demanding, oh, they didn't show God of War at State of Play. That shit's trash. Like, it's just like, what? Like, they told you they're just gonna show you indies from the Japanese developers or whatever. You know what I mean? And people are still saying, oh, they might show this, they might show that. Nigga, they told you what they're going to show. Why are you making up shit?
And then get the first. I mean, angry.
Yeah, and then get mad to have articles and shit. All right, that's the State of Play. Do we need E3? Like, why do we need E3 when they're showing you the games, a full fleshed out preview? Then a month later, you're getting that game. I like that formula. You know what I mean? So when God of War is coming out, you're going to get a full State of Play, probably 15, 20 minutes of gameplay. Then the game's gonna drop. That's how it should be. Not here's this fucking big ass showcase, and then I'll see you in fucking a year. You know what I mean? Like Starfield, like shit like that, where they barely showed you anything. But yeah, it's getting Starfield still like some heavy media darling, and every time they show concept art, the media is always gushing over this shit. Like, why? Like,
where's the gameplay?
I get you want Xbox to come back, and I want Xbox to be better. Like, Fable is one of my favorite franchises, and here they go fucking that shit up immediately. You know what I mean? Like Perfect Dark franchise people may love from back in the day. What happened? They fucked that up immediately. Like, Xbox has not have any right or done anything for them to have any accolades or even to be given a fair chance, because you haven't shown us time and time again that you cannot manage or make good games. As simple as that. You know what I mean? Like, nobody said shit about Gears. Yeah, nobody should shit about Gears having all these Twin Loss fucking Terminator skins and shit. Nobody said shit about that. You know what I mean? Nobody said shit about Cyberpunk's map, which has crazy amount of icons all over the fucking place. Like,
and a skill tree.
Yeah, all these things are like just coming to a head. Like you said, I think people are just sick of Sony and sick of their fandom acting crazy all the time.
What's going on, Double Shooter? Double Shooter says this. He says, no. Don't sell me a console if all your games go to PC. I'd rather have them go full PC than remain silent and selective.
What's that even mean?
Basically, he doesn't know what games are going to come out for PC.
Then get a PC and wait for the games to come there. That's a clear and obvious fucking fix for your solution for your problem. Don't buy a PS5, sell your PS5, sell all your games at GameStop, use that money to get a PC, and when the games finally come to PC, whenever they do, be happy. That's all you got to do. People are outraged about shit that they don't have to be outraged about. You know what I mean? You don't want a PS5, you don't want games going to PC, then sell your shit and get rid of it. Nobody cares. Do what you got to do, bro. But all this fake outrage over, I'm a PC player, right? I prefer my games on PC, depending on what game it is. But if the game comes to a PlayStation and I want to play it, I'm going to get it. If a game comes to Nintendo Switch and I want to play it, I'm going to go buy a Switch. I don't cry and make up shit or demand shit be fucking given to me like I'm a child, bro. You're a grown-ass man. You're an adult. You know what I'm saying? Vote with your wallet. If you don't like games going to PC, then don't buy any more PlayStation games. If all of you dudes did that shit, then they would have stopped making games going to PC, but you won't and you can't. So I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? This is why corporations have the leverage over gamers, because you guys say one thing, and then Assassin's Creed Valhalla makes $1 billion in revenue. For guess what? Time savers, microtransactions, all that bullshit you say you hate. You guys keep buying it. We keep buying this shit all the time. Why are fighter games allowed to have characters for fucking $20? You saw the new Street Fighter shit with the character skins for $6? Are you crazy?
No,
you're gonna sell me you're
no.
gonna sell me a $6 outfit? Like, why would I buy that? Bison got a new outfit, $6. That shit used to be something you got when you beat the game, when you won. You know what I mean? You achieve something in story mode.
Or at most a fucking $1.50. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, and then people saying like, oh, like King of Fighters came out with like 30-something plus characters. You tell me that Street Fighter can't do that, Mortal Kombat can't do that, but yet they sell you guys all these fucking skins and shit and fucking extra characters every season passes and shit for fighters? That's ridiculous. But guess what? We keep buying it, so this is where we're at. You know what I mean?
So Devil Shooter says, I'm saving for a PC, so I'm doing just that.
Then great job, bud. Then stop talking about it. Like, nobody cares if you don't like PS5 or not. Like, that's my point, though. I don't like a lot of things, but you never see, look at my timeline. You would never see me talk about Nintendo because I don't care what they're doing. You know what I mean? If Nintendo wants to sell dudes fucking $80 versions of Ocarina's Mask, Majora's Mask, I don't care. I'm not buying it. And I don't care about Nintendo. I don't care about Xbox. I don't have an Xbox. You know what I mean? I have a PC. So when their games go day and date the PC, if I want it, I'll buy it. I have a PS5, so therefore, mostly you see me talking about PS5 because I have one. You know what I mean? So
that was your decision on purchasing the fucking PS5. That's your decision.
I bought my PS5 because I didn't want to wait for the game to eventually come to PC because I want to play them now while I'm still alive. Who knows what's going to happen in a year from now? You know what I mean? So people complaining about games going to PC, it's like, how does that affect your gaming? That doesn't affect you at all. Games going to Horizon Zero Dawn going to PC didn't affect you at all. Nothing changed in your life. You can't tell me something changed. Tell me what changed, Double Shooter. If when God of War went to PC, what changed in your life? You know what I mean? Did you lose hair? Like, did you lose weight? Like, I don't understand what this crazy nonsense is. If you don't like it, then don't buy it. But then don't also get a PC and wait for Sony games to come to PC. That makes less sense. Don't buy any more Sony games or Sony products. Just stop buying their shit altogether. That's the only way you're going to show them that you mean business. Otherwise, it's pointless.
Yeah, the second you make a PC and you buy that PC game, and you realize not everything's going to go to PC. It's just not. Not everything fits the PC. The juice may not be worth the squeeze. You know what I'm saying? Them making fucking Little Big Planet, and I'm just making an example. Maybe they'll go, but them making Little Big Planet, does those type of games work? Does Ratchet & Clank would that work on PC? Are they going to get millions of fucking? Is that going to shoot up on the Steam charts? The companies are looking for the juice being worth the squeeze. There's some games you're not going to get. You talk about it being quiet and selective. That's their company and business. There's only one recourse. Stop buying their shit if you don't like what they're doing. I don't understand.
He's mad because Sony didn't give him a 20-year roadmap on what games is going to PC.
I can't. He's going to say he's not mad about it. That's what he's going to end up saying. I'm not mad about it. That's what he's going to end up saying. And hey, I mean, then why even say anything about it? That kind of contradicts you saying that I'm not mad about it or it doesn't affect me. Clearly it does. Like Elden Ring and its score of 97, I'm going to be real with everybody in this bitch. That affects me. It affects me because games that I actually like are being overshadowed. Like Horizon Forbidden West. There's a lot of fucking stuff that they put into that game and nobody's fucking recognizing that fucking game. I should say nobody. There are people recognizing it, but it should have more recognition. And it probably could have sold more if it wasn't for these fucking people that are out there that have this crazy ass vendetta. So yeah, it affects me. I'm on record for saying that shit. I don't care that Elden Ring is successful. Let's not conflate the two. I care about people downplaying Horizon and saying that shit that they didn't program into the game is called game design. That's what bothers me the most. And I feel like I could just segue into the second topic here, which is high budget. People conflating high budgets with corporate greed. We already touched upon Gran Turismo and how Gran Turismo is doing things that no other racer is doing. I mean, several racers are recording where the tire on the surface of the tire is actually being burnt out. But in terms of actual graphic fucking details, shit like that, the attention to detail for the cars, all sorts of things like that, they don't got none of that. Just the fucking presentation. They don't do that shit either. That's the crux of this shit. That shit is super fucking annoying for the people who just sit there and just downplay an entire fucking game that looks like Horizon for some PS3 shit and say, oh, I discovered a new part of the map. Oh, look at this. This map is so large. Well, they can probably make the fucking map large because they don't have to worry about fucking ants climbing a fucking tree. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the fucking case is. Or wrinkles on the fucking face. None of that shit they got to worry about. But you know what? They got 12 million people that bought that fucking game. And 12 million people dick riding that shit. All because it's the popular thing to do. They already propped up the game, social media, to fucking to have this game successful. They propped it up. It was already going to be game of the year, like Jemiah said, off rip. It was going to already be game of the year. So I don't have a vendetta for almost all of my games that I purchased, except for Watch Dogs Legion. What a horrible game that was. But honestly, I think that it's a good game. I give it an 8.5 in terms of Elden Ring, and 9.5 for fucking Horizon Forbidden West. It scratches all my itches when it comes to an open world game.
Like I said, for Horizon, outside of the glitches, I can give it a 9. I cannot give it a 10 out of 10 because it didn't have some glitches and shit like that. But as far as Elden Ring goes, I remember let's say circa when did
what's going on stage?
2020?
2020. I don't know.
I remember about last year, 2021, when they said that like Miles is gonna be cross-gen and Horizon is gonna be cross-gen and all this shit and God of War. And people were saying, oh, this is not next gen, it's gonna be held back.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so happy. I'm so glad you're here.
All this shit. And then Elden Ring comes out with none of that shit, and then people are just like, yeah, whatever, it's the greatest game ever made. Like, so none of that next gen shit mattered. No ray tracing, fucking footprints in the stand, clipping, none of that shit matters anymore. Like performance, stuttering, 4K 60, all that shit. None of that shit matters anymore because you like the developer. You know what I mean? Like, is this what we doing here? Like, I don't understand how people can so easily shut their brains off and be like, this and that. Then I see Tiny Tina's Wonderland, people complaining about stuttering. Elden Ring has stuttering. I didn't see nobody tweeting about that shit.
Major stuttering.
Outside of that one video that one dude made, like that 1 minute clip. Outside of that, people act like that shit doesn't even exist in the game.
Before you go on stage, right? Devil Shooter says, I already told you, Josh, I'm getting a PS5 and I'm getting a PC later, but that's enough of that. It doesn't matter. I don't understand. What was the point of you mentioning that, though? That's what I want to know. Like, I'm not mad at you mentioning it. I just want to know why. Thoughts on this stage?
This whole situation?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as pertaining to the bias between the Sony games that are coming out and the multi-platform games. Well, I mean, that comes down to a lot of factors. Like, one is a long-standing bias which has existed, and they're looking for some form of confirmation from Microsoft when they make their, peaks, their little peaks that they have to, essentially, make them feel like they're correct, like they're right. They need that confirmation from certain games. And so when a certain game comes out, they'll critique it from Sony because Sony is supposed to be the end all be all of game developers, aren't they? That's the whole bias that has been happening with Xbox gamers since the 360 era. That's one thing. Now, two, you have a situation where now the desperation has gotten so bad that they will use third-party games as a tool to attack Sony games when Sony gamers have those games themselves. So, since Sony gamers have access to this game, does it mean that this helps the Xbox gamers argument? It does not. We're arguing with them. I'm not arguing with them, but people are arguing with them for a game they already have on their own console. It's futile. You get what I'm saying? It's pointless. So,
but we're talking about the media. That's because
the media definitely right now. I mean, they want Microsoft to succeed. That's clear. It's obvious.
Why?
Because of their policies. Because of bringing the whole world together, bringing people together. No longer having boundaries. Making games more affordable. Through pricing strategies and things like that. But of course, we know these other companies can't follow Microsoft as easily as they would like. So, I mean, that if you use logic, proper brain functioning, like, a little bit of brain power, you can realize that Sony and Nintendo can't follow Microsoft one-to-one because everyone would be in a loss-leading position. It would be literally a non-profit, or the console industry would be completely lacking an accessible amount of profitability for years to come, and it would.
Microsoft can't even do it themselves.
No, but yes, they can. Yes, they can.
What I mean is not physically being able to. They don't want to, even though they have the means to do it.
What do you mean?
So when I say that they can't do. So you're talking about the charity that they had before, but yet they're bleeding fucking developers. They're canceling fucking projects. They're not doing what it needs to be done to actually go out and get like actual developers to help them with their products and projects. They're not even doing it. They don't really want to do it. This is a want at this point in time. Not an ability.
I mean, Microsoft, and I hate to say this, it's going to sound like beating a dead horse, but Microsoft still needs time. The management with Microsoft,
absolutely not. They do not need any more time being in the industry for 20 years, a little over 21 years.
No, I agree with
2000
you.
And 2000 and 2000 and 2000. It's not even it's not a bad look.
It means how long?
No, it's not a bad look, because a bad look would mean that you know what you're doing and you still fucked up. It's complete incompetence. They really don't understand this shit. They think they can throw money at everything, but they think it's incompetence, like you said. But this is not a bad look in terms of like they can fix it. They really can't fix this shit, and this is not clowning.
They can. It's just gonna take time.
You got it. I'm going to tell you. Let me explain.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait. Let me explain this. If I gave you $1 billion,
yes,
to build a building, you could not get any help. Are you going to be able to do that shit?
And not get any help?
Yep.
It's not going to be very easy. You'd have to reinvest that money with the $1 billion that you got. But
to get the help that you need to do. But if
money would still go towards gaining capital. Yes.
Right. But in terms of mentally knowing what to do with the fucking money, that's what I mean. They don't have the capacity to build a fucking gaming company. They don't have it. And like what Double Shooter says, he says because media.
Their soul isn't in it. The soul of console gaming isn't in Microsoft's initial game.
You can't say that because people like tangibles. They like tangible shit.
What do you mean? When you say that, what do you mean?
So when people say there's a soul, you can't. What does that mean? I know what it means. Don't get it fucked up.
The soul of console gaming. The soul of console gaming. When Microsoft came to console gaming, what did they do?
They wanted to monetize on it and disrupt the industry.
They brought over PC gaming over to console gaming. They changed the structure of console gaming, but they could not develop properly. Like normal console gaming. They basically bridged the gap between consoles and PC, where Sony had already done it before, using CDs and media formats. They took it a step further and they brought PC over, the online game, things that Sony tried to do that they couldn't actually do themselves. So Sony emulated them once they did that.
Well, Dreamcast been brought over PC.
Exactly.
Dreamcast is online. Dreamcast had a keyboard. Yeah, I mean, Microsoft helped them, but like, exactly. I get what you're saying, but like the original Xbox never had a keyboard. Like, it never had computer support. You know what I mean? Like,
but it had Xbox Live, and it was a budding thing.
Xbox Live was the equivalent of fucking AIM.
Yeah, of course.
Like, that's all
everything in its infancy, just like Game Pass now. Look at Netflix when it first started. It was CDs, and now they're no longer dependent upon CDs. I mean DVDs.
Yeah, but I think Dreamcast was the one who had the vision, and then Microsoft just used their money to try to to get into the industry and take it over, which they failed at because they didn't account for the fucking games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
They did at one point. They
took Halo from Apple.
They did understand to a degree what games meant, and I don't understand how they fucked it all up. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like what they tried to do is emulate what they saw. You know what I'm saying? So they bought Rare because at the time platformers was the shit. Let me read what Devil Shooter was saying. He says that the industry or journalism, they want Game Pass to succeed. Then he goes ahead and says that 343 employees are reported in mismanagement. And then another thing he says, only thing Microsoft did was make online a bit better, but it came at a cost of charging people online. I spoke about this, and it'll be too long for me to actually break that shit down. But like, I get what you're saying totally, and this always comes down to making it seem like I am hating on Microsoft, and I don't give a fuck what people have to say. I don't even know why I'm giving. I don't give a fuck about
having a frustration and airing a grievance.
Like I don't give a fuck about people claiming that I'm a fanboy or whatever like that anymore. I don't even know why I'm giving disclosures and disclaimers about shit that they already fucking know. Where's the fucking game that you're playing, Xbox? Where's your games? Now we're not talking about third party either. Like you fight so hard for this fucking console, but there's nothing that you're fighting. Like, what are you fighting for? Like $100, and it's funny when people sat there and they came down on Sony's soul.
The question's already been answered. That question's already been answered.
What are you laughing about?
Well, they've given up the traditional concept of what it means to gain exclusives. You see, I'll explain it. Like when Microsoft made their acquisitions and Sony got their exclusives, did Xbox gamers not take ownership over those exclusives?
Wait, say that one more time? You cut out there.
When Xbox got acquired studios that had existing prior contracts with Sony, and they honored those contracts, did Xbox gamers still not accept those exclusives or games that had already been promised to Sony as multiplats? Like, for instance, what's the Psychonauts? Or let's just say... what's that game called from Arcane? And what's the game called from Arcane?
Outer Worlds?
Outer
Worlds?
No, you mean Deathloop. Arcane made Deathloop, right?
Deathloop. Yeah, that was on Sony's platform. See, they know that these games are coming to Game Pass eventually, or are already on Game Pass. They're taking ownership of things that were never really developed by Microsoft. So there's no point in looking for a rhyme or reason. As long as Microsoft gets a win, that's the point. You see, you getting it now?
Oh no, I've always done
Nintendo
that.
Gamers, with Sony and Nintendo gamers, they've grown up with a pedigree of development that eventually helps out the brand from a internal point of view. With Xbox gamers, because of the amount of years they've had to struggle waiting for Microsoft to do what they're supposed to do, they have accepted getting games by any means necessary. What matters to them is that the console runs well, the online infrastructure is proper, and that it delivers what they see to be as a superior experience. Is it a superior experience? I can't speak to that. For certain things, I could say yes, but I wouldn't say that it's from a game development perspective. It's more from a development of the console, and probably some matters of ecosystem as well, which is a big thing Microsoft works on. Now, the thing with games is I mean, I would be hard pressed and quite ignorant to say that with all of these investments that they've made, that it's going to be a rough future for them, because they've purchased developers who can essentially run themselves. They just happened to have certain things that were going wrong with their companies or full-on corporations that either put them in turmoil with audiences. And now they have IP that they can give over to Game Pass and have an endless, supply of well-operated games. All they have to do
doubt that, because I think a lot of the talent already left most of these studios. Like the talent for Activision Blizzard has already been gone even before the purchase. Like most of Blizzard would never be the same as it was back in the day. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
Blizzard was one of the most loved companies. Like BioWare, Blizzard was one of the two of the most loved companies of all time. And then EA bought them and destroyed them. Activision bought Blizzard and destroyed it. You know what I mean? Microsoft is just going off of nostalgia and good faith. But look at Fable. They're basically saying Playground Games is saying that we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to make this game. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna take us a bunch of time.
They actually said that?
Yeah, they came out and said that it's taking so long because they're new at making RPGs. Is basically the game is going to be years out now. Like the game they don't even think about Fable until like 2024, like at the earliest. They came out and said this, and I agree with them. They used to make freaking racing games, and then you want to make them make a freaking Fable. You should have gave Fable to Obsidian. You know what I mean?
No, I can understand that, but Microsoft can afford to wait for them, could they not?
They can't afford to wait. They should have never closed down Lionhead Studios. That's their fault for closing down the studios.
Do you think Lionhead Studios was making sustainable games that could keep the operation running under traditional standards? Perhaps if let's just say Microsoft was helming with their coffers the whole studio situation, with Phil Spencer as the head of game studios rather than just Xbox itself, the whole situation would be much better suited to for Lionhead to survive and be able to, if they had a game that didn't perform so well, maybe they'd still be able to survive. But the model has changed now. Back with the traditional model, you'll have studios falling like crazy, but now you literally have the coffers of Microsoft at their disposal for Game Pass because it's attached to Azure. So I mean, this means, as I said before, Microsoft can be a loss leader and still,
Lionhead Studios had already had that Fables, whatever that shit was. What was that shit called?
Yeah.
Fables Legends or whatever. They had a working demo. They showed that shit at a fucking Jez said. Jez said he played that shit, and they shut it down. Like, why would you do that when you had no games? You shut that down. And you shut down Scalebound, which started the trajectory of what they're on now. That right there, those two games being canceled, started Microsoft down this "you don't have any games" mantra. That's what started this whole shit.
No, it was much longer than that. It was much longer.
We understand.
Yeah,
no,
it was far longer.
Let me hold on, Stage. Let me say this.
Yeah,
I was at my friend's house, and he wanted to show me the fucking demo of Fable. And I was interested in Fable. I went over to his house, right? We went to the gym and, his wife wanted some shit at the store. We came back, right? And we couldn't download the game. The service was down. They said that it was canceled in the same fucking day. I kid you not, yo. I was like, what the fuck? And let me just say this because we need to talk about the high budget situation.
Okay.
Jeremiah hit the nail on the head when it came to why the media detest PlayStation and Sony. The fans are just absolutely insufferable. Like the loud fans. I don't even fucking like them. You know what I'm saying?
That's all around. I mean, wherever you have.
I know you got fans, but the problem here is that Sony fans had something to back it up with Metacritics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and just
it doesn't
graphics.
make them seem utterly insane. Yes.
Right. They had at least the Metacritic can back them up, or the graphics can back them up. You know what I'm saying? And he mentions a lot of these journalists get attacked. And first of all, they jumped into the fucking industry and don't even know what the fuck they were doing. That's number one. But number two, specifically, they jumped. They are getting attacked and they're tired of them. They're tired of the shit. They're sick of it. So it's like they have a vendetta. They go out of their way to bitch and complain about what Sony is doing. They're sick of it. And I can see why. Not only that, but Sony is at the top of their fucking game, which is the top of the industry currently. And people don't like people that are at the top of the industry. We went on and spoke about Nintendo and why can Nintendo get away with a whole bunch of shit? And it's like, well, Nintendo's fan base is not fucking vocal. They play their shit, keep it moving. So it's like they're incognito without, without being famous.
To a certain extent, yeah.
They're not vocal like that. Like, again, they don't go on Twitter and be like, yo, it's nice to have, we eating here. We eating. It's nice to have, these games. Sony never misses. It's always 9.0 scores. Nobody want to hear that shit all fucking day. I don't even want to hear that shit all day.
I mean, but then now you're looking at the Metacritic, whole situation, and Xbox, because of their acquisitions, some of the games that have come out have scored high, or games like Tunic, they're using against, games like Sifu, which is stupid because Sifu is eventually going to go to Xbox, and it's same thing with the other timed exclusive. But it's again futile. But it's something to actually throw in the fire of the console war. Because as long as everybody's playing these games, what's the point? If it's truly exclusive, okay, I can understand. But I mean, to some degree, because the older I get, the more petty it seems. It
really does. And we'll go on Jeremiah, and then we can talk about this high budget debacle.
No, I was just gonna say real quick, like, how much money did the movie industry make last year? The global box office. How much do you think he made?
You count Spider-Man, that's already $2 billion.
Spider-Man Is Spider-Man from last year? Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So if I add everything up in my head, I would say about $5 billion.
The $5 billion, the whole industry, every movie.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That's guess.
Pretty low. That's a low guess, but yeah. I'll just say the movie industry last year made $21.4 billion, right? The game industry made like $67 billion, and half of it was almost the consoles alone made about $67 billion, right, or $61 billion.
Yeah,
and it was mostly half of it was PlayStation's alone. The console war is one of the most lucrative things ever known to entertainment. You see Washington Post, you see all these places that never will review games, reviewing games. You know what I mean? You see the media pushing for certain things, Game Pass, all this shit, because all this shit makes money. You know what I mean? The console wars is so... You see all type of people getting into the console wars, from celebrities to all types of shit, because it makes so much money.
Engagement and money. And just to top off what you were saying, the fucking video game awards. What is your game of the year so far? It is fucking March. And we already know why it's driven, because you got the Elden Ring / fucking Forbidden West situation. That's why they're doing it. Yeah.
Horizon is a great game, but it's always hard pressed to win in a game where there's
no. I'm not. No, we're not talking about what's valid. We're talking about how people are using they're weaponizing the console.
Yeah, they're always going to do that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the VGAs is funny because we're in fucking March, and they were like, "What's game of the year?"
Well, I see George. What's his name? Jeff Keighley. I see him, boy. Jeff, what's his name?
Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, this dude is smart though. I don't hate Jeff because I see his hustle. You know what I mean? He's trying to get advertisers. He's trying to get marketing. Think about it. The VGAs is only in December. That's one time a year you're gonna get money. No, now you gotta spread this shit out. You gotta be like March game of the year. You know what I mean? You gotta keep the VGAs relevant throughout the whole year. So when it gets to the December, it's gonna be a crescendo. You feel me? So I'm not gonna hate him being out there doing this shit, but it's the media.
I'm not either. It's just funny.
We've already reached that. We've already reached critical mass. Is there really? I wish we could say you'd be correct that he would be like a master of puppets where it came to that whole situation where he could control people's, or at least influence people's anticipation of what could be considered the game of the year. But he already knows, like they all know.
No, but we all know that this was already designed. It was manufactured to have Elden Ring to be game of the year.
I honestly think that Elden Ring is not going to win. I honestly don't think it's going to win. I don't at all.
It's one of the highest reviewed games of all time.
That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to win. You know what I mean? The highest game rated that year doesn't mean it's going to win. Like,
no, he's being facetious, but like,
I mean, if you use
I'm not.
I'm saying he's being facetious.
God of War losing to winning to Red Dead Redemption, maybe you could be correct, but that's the actual percent chance of that actually happening. Oh man,
we got Zelda and we got God of War. That's still there, but again, I really do think that you say you question me like manufactured. Absolutely, it was fucking manufactured.
Yeah,
it takes two.
I would want to know why you think that it's manufactured. That's why.
Oh, why? So we're not even talking about Horizon debacle. That's not what we're talking about.
That's another thing. Yeah,
it's manufactured because of how it reviewed. You know what I'm saying? Like you have all these people. Almost everybody didn't finish the fucking game and was still calling it game of the year. You know what I'm saying? It was just enough for me to say, I'm 40, 60 hours in, and it's my game of the year. And you have this rhetoric online that keeps pushing it. I don't know about you. And then you have that situation. And then on top of it, they were already, before the game even fucking came out, they were already talking about, this is what Jemiah was saying too. This is when Cyberpunk was out there. And when we didn't even know what kind of game it was, they were already saying that this was going to be like a heavy hitter back then, and didn't even see anything of it. Yeah, we knew about Elden Ring
when it came to the yellow chair jokes.
Yeah,
the media, a lot of the people that work in the media got their comeuppance for that.
So that's why I say it's manufactured. It's manufactured for a lot of reasons. A lot of people have never played the Souls game. It's funny to me because they're saying it was new and refreshing. And I'm like, bro, did you pay the other ones? You do realize that they recycle bosses from another genre. I mean, not another genre, another IP.
Yeah, they were saying it was Dark Souls 3, correct?
It was supposed to be Dark Souls. Or I shouldn't say it's supposed to be.
It was recycled. It seems the most like Dark Souls 3 of all the other games.
Right. Well, it is Dark Souls 3.
Yeah. Not to mention the ton of recycled bosses in the game itself. You know, people
think, and it's funny when we have these arguments or conversations about Elden Ring, and we mentioned about recycled bosses. You know what the fans default to? Oh, of course, any game recycles their bosses. Look at God of War; they have bosses recycled. It was like, no, nigga, they recycle bosses from their other IPs. Is what we're talking about.
Like even when God of War recycled bosses, that shit was a negative. People were talking hot shit about that shit. You know what I mean? Like that, people didn't let that pass. People didn't just say, of course they're gonna reuse assets. No, people were mad as shit. When Aloy used the same grapple animation, people were talking shit about that. Like, are you kidding me? But yet,
Elden Ring. Those were the Elden Ring gamers, weren't they? Or was it IGN?
It was.
I remember seeing a video of the animation, and it wasn't too far off.
It's the same one, but understand it is a fucking sequel with the same protagonist.
Exactly. You see, you're being rational though. Do you understand that?
So, but the thing is, the media reported this shit. Same thing with God of War running into a boat. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing, though.
But
there's videos out there
without recycling resources.
But Elden Ring isn't a fucking sequel. It is a new IP.
No, I agree with that. Yes, I agree that there's some level of hypocrisy and there is a lot of fanboyism. But we live in a world where people have opinions and they're not always rational.
Well, we're talking about journalists. We get that.
I don't think reviews are opinions to the most part. Like reviews have to be structured. They're not. My opinion. So no. If the game runs at 20 FPS and it's supposed to run at 60, in my opinion that it runs great, that's not an opinion. That's not a review. That's lying. That's a clear lie. That's not your opinion shouldn't be. Oh, the game is fucking.
I didn't feel it.
The game is 720p. The game is 720p, but I feel like it's at 4K. I feel like it looks like 4K because of the art direction. That's not a lie. That's not a review.
Okay,
no,
let's
but
separate-
stage, but
let's-
stage, but
let's break it down.
stage, but stage, but
Let's break
stage,
that
but
down.
stage.
Like,
Hold on, wait, stage.
Okay.
What I'm saying, and we know
Yeah.
this, the world is full of irrational people. We get it.
Of
But when
course.
you're getting fucking paid for this shit,
Yes.
that's where the problem happens.
I
Like
mean,
you can have an opinion about the story, about the characters, but you can't have an opinion about the actual fucking performance of the game. That's not a.
of course
that's
not.
opinion
This
based.
is why I was going to say to you: do you believe Digital Foundry to be an objective source?
No,
You don't.
no.
So then you couldn't find almost any outlet to be an objective source when it comes to recording information that's supposed
I'm talking about
performance.
I'm talking about overall. So because what happens is two things.
Yes.
They'll start sprinkling in, like they just showed a fucking video of Tokyo. What is it? Tokyo. I'm going to say Tokyo Ghoul.
I mean, not
that's
Tokyo
how you know.
Ghoul, Tokyo Ghost. No, Tokyo.
It's Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo. Yeah, you're right.
So here's the thing, right? I'm expecting them to break down the technical aspects of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what he says? You know what the first thing I realized with this game is? I realized that this is it's a very Ubisoft-like game. You know, I don't really ever. What the fuck does that have anything to do with how many frames this shit runs? That's why I don't take the motherfuckers seriously. You gotta like take their shit with a grain of salt.
And also, being a PC guy, all I have to do for a game is look at the goddamn benchmarks. I look at a chart and see what the game is running at. I don't need to hear anybody say anything. Just show me the benchmark, show me the numbers, roll the freaking little thing at the bottom of the screen, and don't say shit in the video. You know what I mean?
They said it was. They said it was boring. They said it was boring. This gets kind of boring to talk about specs. Well, you know what? My job is fucking boring. Oh well.
That's what we're saying, Stage. Like, people are always interjecting so much other dumb shit into the fucking goddamn reviews. Like why would Deacon wear a hat when he's getting married? Like, who gives a fuck what he's wearing? People get married in Vegas.
How's the gameplay? How's the fucking performance? How's the performance? How's the fucking game? How's the camera?
So essentially, so what you're really saying is your problem is with the most prominent gaming outlets.
They are influencers, yes.
Yes, they are, but there are many other reviewers, though. I'm just saying, but your main the crux of what you're saying is that your problem is the prominent handful of reviewers.
There's many fucking YouTubers that are huge. Yeah. I'm one of them that's just a regular fucking YouTuber. I don't get no fucking views, so I don't matter really. No, but so you can't make the argument saying that everybody else is reviewing it. I mean, of course everybody's reviewing their shit. Fine. But they're influencers and their followers. This is why Cardi B. No, I'm sorry, excuse me. This is why Nicki Minaj, right? Nicki Minaj was contacted by the fucking president and not the president, but the people's like the whole Democratic Party because she said that vaccines were terrible. Or you should check your vaccines. It was because of her fucking influence. Mm-hmm. It's big to have a following.
I can understand that, yeah.
And I also can say, like, the way you can tell the media and the journalists and influencers have a sway, or they try to push their influences because the whole thing was streaming. What happened to Stadia, xCloud? 2 years ago, consoles were dead. Streaming was the future. You know what I mean? You better call Verizon and get a better plan, bro, because you better have a huge bill. And now they don't even talk about streaming anymore. Now they don't even mention streaming. They don't even mention xCloud. Stadia is dead. What's that other shit? Amazon Water or whatever. What was that shit?
Do you know what the caused the nail in the coffin? Do you know what caused the nail in the coffin?
What?
Microsoft's purchases.
What do you mean?
Have you heard anybody talking about Stadia till Microsoft bought Bethesda?
No, I know. I have to cut. No. So Microsoft's Stadia was dying before that. Like by a lot.
Think about it.
Nobody was mentioning before the acquisition. Stadia was already fucking dying. Nobody gave a fuck about that shit.
I said that. What was the nail in the coffin?
What was the nail in the coffin?
So you saying that
it's even written in articles. One of the major reasons why Stadia they stopped investing in first party. Which, if you cut off first party, you're essentially saying that this is going to be a side project. You get what I'm saying? Hold on. Hear me out. One of the reasons why they cut off first party was because of the fact that Microsoft got their hands on Bethesda. And that was a big, because remember, if you're getting into this stuff, you need to have existing content that people are coming to to your brand for. And Bethesda is a huge juggernaut. Now Microsoft has essentially taken that in whole, ZeniMax, the whole deal, so it essentially discouraged them from making any.
I'll give you that right. But Google could buy Ubisoft and EA right now and not blink an eye. I don't want to hear shit.
Sorry, you're breaking up. Yeah.
Ubisoft. Google can buy Ubisoft and EA right now and not blink an eye. So they were never serious about gaming, because if that hindered you or discouraged you from going forward, you were never serious, bro. You know what I mean?
Not only that.
What do you think? What do you think is more appealing? Getting content quickly, or spending a certain amount of time to get it done and to meet a schedule, which is much harder to do.
Hold on, Block. So here's the thing, right? And we really got to go on to the last topic here. We only got like 30 minutes. Here's the thing, right? Microsoft and Google have a lot of fucking money, but you know what though? None of them are really that serious. You know what I'm saying? Because Google created YouTube gaming and then closed that bitch out like within a year. You know what I'm saying? And with a whole bunch of other things that they actually supposedly financed and then closed out. There's so many things that they closed out. In addition to Microsoft closing out, what was that, Mixer and shit like that? None of them are really that deep in it. They don't really, they don't really give a fuck.
Now they canceled their share button too. Going to Twitter, like, what's the point of the share button if it doesn't do anything? You know what I mean? Like, also Amazon had that Luna, right? That's what it's called. Amazon could buy fucking any company they want right now, bro. They could have bought fucking Sony if they wanted to. You know what I mean?
So what is the lesson that you're learning from that now?
All they want to be into, Block, is just to be in the mix. That's all they want to do. They want to be in the mix, and they want to put their hands in the cookie jar.
That's where the future money is, correct?
My lesson. Well, what's the future money at?
Gaming.
Yeah, it is. Is it? What's that? Josh's whole point about the media. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, like we see, like I said, with the 47% of console revenue on Sony. At the end of the day, the gamers dictate everything. No matter what people say or whatever in any article, the money at the end of the year is going to show you what the gamers were doing. You know what I mean?
No,
so
I agree.
So like, I don't believe the media can like literally push us like they want to push us towards streaming, which was for some fucking godforsaken reason. But like at the end of the day, they do have influence, but gamers are going to do what gamers do best.
Exactly.
So let me say this: White Chocolate, yo, what you gotta say?
I like the way you say that.
I didn't even realize I'd requested to be a speaker, mate. So I've been out on patrol at work, so I do apologise for that. I didn't realise I'd become a speaker, so my bad.
No problem. We're glad you're listening. What do you think?
I mean, for the what the title of the space is, I mean, it's corporations that they're greedy. They're always greedy. They always have been. They always will be. Same way, like, I mean, it goes off topic a little bit, but same with everyone recently talking about microtransactions. And I'm just a little bit tired of saying it. If grown ass men are going to drop $100 on a mobile game, they are going to spend so much more on a console game. That has been happening for years. There is nothing we can do about it. If people want to go out and spend their hard-earned cash on microtransactions, that is totally down to them.
Bro, if I show you my World of Warcraft fucking pay history, you probably kill yourself. I
used to play a mobile game called Game of War, and I must have dropped about $6,000 into that game. So I know all about microtransactions, and I know all about how they can sucker you in.
White Chocolate, whose fault was that?
That was my fault for spending it.
That's all I'm saying. You take accountability.
That's my point. This is what I don't get about this whole argument about microtransactions. They're not forcing you to buy them. You just get suckered in by the pretty lights, so to speak.
I think nowadays,
that you got what you wanted for that money at the time.
At the time, I got what I wanted for the money, yeah. But looking back, it's just like shit. I could have done so much more with that money.
Stage, people want to spend the money. They just want a reason to justify to everybody else. Like, I had to buy it because I didn't want to grind. Like, I had to buy all the cars because why would I grind for 20 hours?
Listen. I really appreciate your input, White Chocolate. That was so good, man. That you came right on time with that shit. Because listen, I'm not a politically correct person. I don't really believe in political correctness, right? Mm-hmm. But that's like a fat kid or fat person going into a fucking bakery and saying, please, can you just hide the food from me? Like, I don't want to see this.
Exactly, like, man. Exactly.
That's your fault. You wanted to eat that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny how people say that they have a brain and, they're so smart and all this other stuff. And they can't.
We're still emotional creatures, yes.
They can't take away the fact that, I need to buy this shit. You know what I'm saying?
My other point that I've got for it is, say, for example, you Gamecast, like it's never happened between us. We've never had a disagreement or anything like that. But say, for example, one day you turn around and go, why are you spending $70 or £70 on that game? Well, what business is it of yours? I've gone out and I've worked for 48 hours a week to earn this cash. I'll spend it however I bloody damn well please. Mm-hmm. Why are all these grown men and grown women and, fucking man children so concerned about how other people are spending their hard-earned cash? I just cannot comprehend it.
It's the moral high ground because they are so fixated on engagement. They want to be right, and they find like the evil boogeyman of a situation that you can't really refute. Everybody knows that corporations are greedy, but because of the likes and the engagements, they need to say something absolute. That's why they go to racism and all sorts of things, because they're like, oh, you can't, if you say something about racism, or if you say something about corporations not being greedy, then you're wrong. They just want the engagement. And it's really irritating. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I was looking at the Gran Turismo shit, right? Like 80% of these people don't even have the fucking game. That's number one. You know what I'm saying? Number two, even when they had the fucking game, yo, if you played the other Gran Turismos, I had to keep my PS2 on for 24 hours. It was always a grind. It never fucking changed. You know what I'm saying? But since people are more...
That's like my final point on it, mate. Like 10 years ago, before microtransactions even existed, before you even had the option to link up your bank card to your fucking PSN or your fucking Xbox Live or whatever, people had no choice but to fucking grind. So why is it in like the space of 10 years we've gone from being proper gamers who actually play a goddamn game to like, no, I don't want to do that, but I'll happily spend 30 quid to skip it all.
Because millennials are becoming adults. Influx of new gamers.
Well, here's the thing:
don't have the time.
Millennials are now adults. If you can make the generation that boomed and caused gaming to be as big as it is today, and the generation that came after that would follow suit with whatever influence that the technology and the industry created.
If a company can make money off of you in some way, they're going to do it.
Yes, but if it's generationally influenced.
But we get that. We get that point. But the point is that people are just like really befuddled at the fact that a corporation wants money.
Yeah, of course. No, that shouldn't even be a question. We know there's some things that we can band together and fight for, but there's some battles we're just going to lose.
Because loot boxes weren't a problem until they became a problem all of a sudden. One day, people woke up and they didn't like loot boxes anymore. Remember that shit?
Because, they were like,
it hasn't changed in the United States. It's changed outside of the United States.
But here's the thing. That's Young saying loot boxes in video games. This is just an awful practice that needs to be stopped. Shut your ass up.
But my thing is though, when did it happen though? Because nobody had a problem spending money.
Influencers.
Like, when the shit first came out, like WoW, like I said, in World of Warcraft, man, you can buy anything you want. You can buy a new name, you can buy a new server, you can buy a new character, you can change your race, you can change anything you want in that game for money. You can get outfits, you can even get the subscription fee for the month. You can get that shit by in game, like by playing it in game. So, but just with gold. gold is like lifeblood to WoW, and nobody had a problem paying Chinese gold farmers to give them gold. None of that shit. But when the companies started doing it themselves, it became a problem.
Well, I mean, PC and cell phone games set the standard for what was going to come to console gaming eventually. I mean, that was just how it was going to go, and these corporations were getting bigger and bigger and bigger because of these microtransactions. I mean, look at even Halo, for instance. Let's take Halo, right? Microsoft never talked about the actual sales of the game beyond 3 months, I think. And it was about 5 million that they had sold at the time of Halo 5. And so after that, it just went completely radio silent. And then out of nowhere, months later, once the multiplayer starts to pick up, you start hearing about the money that they made off of microtransactions. And they covered I think about pretty much like $1 billion, I think. I don't know if that's correct, but it was somewhere near around that region. And so the idea of whether these games are going to become more open and accessible to microtransaction became a reality from that point on. I mean, well, they already were before, but when it came to first party, the windows, the doors are pretty much almost blown off at that point.
Well, I'll say this, right, and then we can go to this last high budget topic, whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. The thing is that this started to really take a shine when more and more publishers and developers started incorporating microtransactions. It's funny. It's totally okay for EA to do it because they always do it. You know what I'm saying?
They're the boogeyman.
Totally, you know what I mean? It's totally okay for Activision to do it. They always do it. It's totally okay. But it's not. But it's not even about them being a boogeyman or third party. It's so it's like seeing a bully in your class, right? Even though you can't condone their actions, you're like, well, that's just fucking Tommy. Tommy always does that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's to be expected, and it's like, okay, fine. But you get another person, you know what I'm saying, that comes in to fucking play and does these things. They're like, oh, I can't believe he did that.
The high ground. First party generally is considered the one to have the high ground because they have a platform. They set a standard to get people to come into the platform. They make certain games themselves.
Yeah,
that's so let's say if Nintendo did that, then Nintendo would be treated like demons.
What do you mean? If they did that. How about that? What? Nintendo takes every opportunity to milk money out of their customers. What are you talking about?
No, but they don't do no. But the key word,
titles that actually
the key word is microtransactions. Since they're not really using that word.
I understand that, but
like hypothetical.
Exactly. I don't like when it's like if I murder you in combat, if I murder you in the street, is there a difference really? Like, no, you're still dead. Like the whole like even though they're fucking you with a condom on. Like, okay, I guess like I feel better now.
Of course.
But we get this as logical people. We totally understand that. But the situation is because Nintendo is not doing a traditional microtransactions route, then it's okay for them. Like it's
they screw us in other ways, which
right. But the naughty word. But wait, hold on. The naughty word is microtransactions. It's just they're not doing that. In particular,
exactly.
It goes under the fucking radar.
Yeah, first party are the last bastion on consoles. We're supposed
to. Does
no
Nintendo game have microtransactions?
No.
You sure?
I think there are some Sony games that have microtransactions, but eventually,
no. We're talking about Nintendo.
Oh, but Nintendo is literally the last of the last. And if you get them,
talk about are amiibos microtransactions? Because you gotta buy you gotta buy the amiibo to get content in the game. That's a microtransaction.
That's like a doll, a tangible product that you can use, it's a toy. Remember, Nintendo is a toy company as well. That's Sony and Xbox.
My friends' kids have amiibos. You can't play with those things. They're not toys.
They're used
to open up content in the game, but they're used to open up content in the game, which is the definition of a microtransaction. So that's not trying to change it.
I know. We're not trying to change it, but it goes under the radar because they're not doing it in a traditional way. Is all I'm saying.
I'm just saying you're still doing it though.
I know you're still doing it. That's we get that. We get that. It don't even matter if they're operating like a toy company or not. They are still screwing you, regardless. Even if they're not doing the amiibos, even if they're not doing that, they are charging like the Mario game was fucking $60. And all you didn't even bother to update the fucking resolution, like to do regular widescreen. You have like the fucking like the sidebars, like the ratio, the 4.3 ratio. They didn't even bother. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's still fucking. They didn't even say, "Well, that's just Nintendo." You know what I mean? That's retro. Like,
yeah,
what?
but Nintendo isn't. That's why they petitioned Sony to come in, and the whole PlayStation was created in the first place.
You're breaking up. Say again.
That's the main reason they brought in companies like Sony, and Sony became their own world brand to begin with. It's because Nintendo is not great at the tech.
But why am I looking up that Mario Kart has microtransactions then? Like, why am I looking this up?
I thought that, I thought
like,
so.
I'm just saying, like,
what is it? What is it exactly?
I mean, DLC technically is a microtransaction.
Why is it every time it breaks up, yo? What the fuck is going on with Twitter, man?
Twitter's trash.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they have mad money, but they're doing this.
Also, especially with their mobile apps, they go crazy with the microtransactions. Let's not act like Nintendo's been fucking saints over here.
So then why? So now, why are they going under the radar then, Jemiah?
I do think for the most part, their first party games do not have them. I'm looking at this Mario Kart thing, but it could be it's some imore.com. It could be some bullshit. I'm gonna have to click on that shit and look at it. But
say that one more time.
No, it's for the Mario Kart mobile game. Never mind. So yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo have always been open about microtransactions in the mobile games.
They leave that shit. Yeah,
the actual handheld games and the console games, they've never had microtransactions.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. But maybe Sony needs to make some mobile games then. Fuck.
They actually are. I forgot who it was. One of the developments are doing it, and I said this too. I said they keep acquiring studios, but it's only a certain amount of time that each title can compete with. So I was like, I guarantee you they're going to start making exclusives for PC and consoles and shit like that. But I digress. That's another conversation. Going back to the last topic, because what's his name? Chris Righteous has this issue with high quality games or high budget games. You know what I'm saying? He may not say it directly, but it's like you turn up your nose when you have a game that has high production values. It's like it's automatically associated with greed. And I wanted to get your take on it before we close out here. I know the answer to this, but what do you think of it? What do you think of people that have that mentality?
I mean, he plays a lot of JRPGs and Japanese games. So I mean, there are a lot of high budget Japanese games as well. But the thing is, with like the games that he plays per se, there's a lot more content that you get for your money compared to a lot of these major high budget games that make you pay like $60, give you this high budget, and then it quickly just withers away. He actually gets games that he puts a lot of his time into, so I can understand that.
Tales of Arise. Hold on, real quick. I love Tales of Arise, which is a JRPG. That shit has so many goddamn microtransactions in that fucking game. Jesus Christ! Like, I just want a different outfit. I gotta pay $20 though, some shit like for a whole pack. Like, why? Mm-hmm. Like, let's not act like JRPGs don't have a bunch of microtransactions either, because they definitely do.
That's not his. Hold on. Wait. That's not his concern. His concern is that it seems, when I interpret what he's saying, it seems that AAA games does not have a soul, which is not. Can't really quantify it. But he's like,
I have to hear what he has to say from. Yeah, I can't.
I wish he was there. But let's just say hypothetically that someone said something like that AAA games don't really have a soul, when you got games like, I don't know, Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring, that is not, I guess their budget is not really AAA. And I'm going to say Elden Ring is not AAA because they don't have to
make huge games that aren't, that don't require the budget that a lot of Western studios require. They just know how to make those big games that
you know how they're able to do it. There's no motion capture. There's no
voice acting.
Voice acting. All those shits. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I swear. Yeah. That's the same white nigga that said that shit for I don't know. That's been fucking 30 years, man.
Yo,
He's actually it's funny because he's not even Italian. You know, but when it comes to people that have that same mentality, because it's not necessarily just him that says that, you know what I mean? Because he was talking about Horizon Forbidden West. And he's like, oh, it was a good game. You know, it was a good game. You know what I mean? I had fun with it, but he danced around the subject of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to say it's a bad game because the production values are high and it functions, but it feels, you know, he didn't say it, but it's like it feels soulless. You know what I'm saying?
I think he likes JRPGs more like that. So that's all.
And that's fine. And that's fine. He likes the Japanese games in general, but in particular, he likes a lot of Nintendo stuff or a lot of games that have that sentimentality where you don't have the voice actors. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't have motion captures.
Gameplay purely, I
know, but it's not necessarily about Chris. It's the mentality, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So it's the sentimentality of if you don't have these high production values or crazy fucking cutting edge graphics, ray tracing, then you automatically expect this game, right?
Well, I mean, he got to be remake,
no. I'm talking about when you see games like, I'm not even talking about Chris at this point anymore because you guys can't speak on it. But let's say somebody with the same sentimentality, right? They automatically assume because if it doesn't have these production values, the ray tracing and all the other stuff, then they must have focused on the gameplay.
That's a small minority of gamers, though. Like
that's a loud minority of gamers.
Exactly. That's the.
Let me say this, right? If somebody said that you assaulted somebody, one person, let's say you were in New York City, and one person just kept pointing to you, that guy right there, block right there, he fucking punched me. And he's going to different people. Guess what's going to happen? People are going to start listening to that one person because they're like, why would you say that? Did he? Hey, where's yo, why you hit him? You know what I'm saying? Just because it's not that many people don't mean it's not detrimental. That's the sentimentality. They keep calling games Ubisoft.
No, the counteract that, I see games all the time because I'm a PC guy, so people call all the games PC trash. If the shit's not AAA with ray tracing and 4K and third person over the shoulder, then people won't even give it a chance. So there's groups on both sides screaming that same shit. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't just say that would be a reason why people don't like AAA.
But I'm not talking
always saying that shit.
But I'm not talking about those groups. I'm talking about the groups that I'm talking about is the people that say that when they see a high quality game or high production value game, they automatically assume that it doesn't have a soul. That's the group that I'm talking about.
Well, it could be because, and I can't speak for anybody, but I'm just saying this is, of course, just going off of what you're saying, because let's just say the actual production value is masking the lack of intuitiveness of the gameplay.
What about it?
Usurping its value to be exact.
We'll say it again. It looks like I'm missing something there.
The production value of the game is usurping the value of the overall game itself.
It could happen. But let's not pretend that like a AA game.
We have contextual games and point and click adventures that are winning game of the year. So I mean, these things exist.
But let's not say that AA games are fucking better because they don't have the production values. They supposedly
the games
focus
are
on the
AAA.
gameplay.
They're just maybe not as AAA as the like Sony or what Microsoft will make, or like.
I haven't really seen that a lot.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, it depends on who you follow and where you go, because you go to Reset Era.
Community is very small. That's the thing.
But they're still loud. You go to Reset Era.
Of course.
You go to Reset Era, right? And those same people, which has very liberal sentimentalities, they are the main people that are talking about microtransactions, and they're talking about high production value games are soulless and shit. You even got fucking Digital Foundry. Oh, I'm just so tired of the formula of open world games and high production. I just want to sit down and just turn on the game and then just give me the controller and I'll just move the character around. Like, shut the fuck up. I can't with them. It bothers me.
At the end of the day, though, that minority is not doing shit because clearly high production value games are the things that are selling.
Exactly.
Your stage, are you playing like ping pong back there?
Huh?
You playing his Xbox?
Ping pong? Oh, he's bashing up buttons hard as hell.
I'm on Xbox right now. Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm not at home right now, so I take my.
You know how I know you were playing your Xbox? You know how I knew you were playing your Xbox? That's just loud. The controller is fucking dummy loud.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is he clicking, right? Like, Jesus Christ.
I know exactly.
Very clicky.
Yeah, that shit sound like, bro, like, but that's how bad it is. You know what I'm saying? So, but and you can tell I know my shit, yo. I was like, he can't even lie about that shit. You playing Xbox right now? You can't even fucking.
I wouldn't. I have all of the platforms really. I'm a
I mean like right now. That's what I mean. Not like you trying to hide it, but I'm like, if you were like, I'm not playing anything. I'm like, no.
I wouldn't try to hide that from anyone.
Yes, you are. You'd be like, yes, you playing it. But
I take my S with me when I travel.
I see in the summer I'm about to start going on to different states and stuff like that as well. Mm-hmm. So I usually bring my Vita with me. I really wish they do like a sequel to that shit, bro. But like either way, yeah. But that's what I wanted to kind of bring to the table of this conversation. I'm so glad that this was a productive conversation because it's always good to hear or put things into light that's not fanboy drivel. You know what I mean? Yeah. It literally has, it has, there's truth to it. It's pure information and we can figure out what's going on. But there are people, like I said before, they automatically assume that there's corporate greed just because it's a high production value game. And it's like, wait, what? All right,
there's corporate greed, but we also demand it. So they have to meet that demand.
Yeah, you cut out like everything until you said demand.
It's fucking Twitter, yo.
It was like no demand.
It is, no, I was saying I agree that it's corporate greed, but we also demand it.
And let me just
when it comes to corporate greed, as long as they're putting out a viable product, what difference does it matter if the company's greedy?
It doesn't. That's the whole thing. But it's always nice. It's always nice, right, to say I have the moral high ground to say that I take a stand for microtransactions, but then text that shit on your iPhone, which probably was made by Chinese slaves. So, it's the things that people fight for is so fucking ridiculous. It's just really annoying. Before, who requested? I'm sorry. I just seen you. Before I let E speak and we be out of here, Devil Shooter says, that the amiibos are a toy with DLC tied to them, which it is DLC or microtransactions, however you want to put it. And then you have personally,
you will break that shit if you play with them. You see those things?
Certainly will. You really can't play with them, but they call it that, so it's fine.
Okay, remember back in the days when they had, of course, you could consider these models today, collectibles and things like that. But remember those little toy soldiers, the little green ones?
Yeah, you can't even do anything with them. They're just stuck in one position.
But when you're a kid, your imagination still makes you do shit, doesn't it?
I hated those fucking things. I really hated them. That shit was booty cheeks. Devil Shooters.
It was cheap, but it was what your parents could afford at the time.
They used to get a fucking a bag of that shit, yo. And I'd be like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this shit, yo? Anyway. Personally, I don't care. I'll play whatever interests me, high production values or not. And most people, Devil Shooter, are like that. But it's so cool to say that shit on Twitter or any other social media to say that you're above it all. East, yo, what's going on, bro? Exactly. What you gotta say before we close it out?
What's good?
It's good, bro. You hear me? You all late? You late, motherfucker?
Hey, I'm sorry, bro. It's a good podcast, but I just want to hit on the point you made about the Chinese sweatshops.
Oh, yeah, of course you did. Yeah, go on, man.
Right on time.
They're nice sneakers made in Bangladesh and Vietnam by like children, and then they're like no microtransactions. It's really
so
hypocritical, to be honest.
bro. It's so fucking ridiculous. I can't deal with
Amazing
these
point.
fucking
That's
people.
an amazing point you made. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
The real problem. I mean, like I said before, and people let Nintendo fuck them right in the ass, no lube, and then complain about fucking Gran Turismo.
But the question is, how is Nintendo fucking them?
Just like White Chocolate was saying, they really just like they put lube. That's the best they could do at that point. You know
the
what I
reason
mean?
why
It wasn't
nobody
as rough.
attacks Nintendo is because they deliver quality products that are evergreen.
Damn it, man! Will you say it again?
They deliver quality products that are evergreen. That's why people rarely.
So does Sony, yo. So Gran Turismo 7 is a high quality game.
Is it like Zelda Breath of the Wild?
So I didn't hear nothing but like Zelda Breath of the Wild. What did you say?
Like Zelda Breath of the Wild? I'm gonna have to get a new microphone. That's it.
It's Twitter that's fucking crashing or whatever the fuck is doing. Like White Chocolate didn't have an issue. East didn't have an issue. But certain people do. I don't know what the fuck's going on. That shit mad annoying. Who requesting?
Yeah.
Okay, so Champs. Let me let Champs in. Let me say what he have to say, and then we can close it out.
Okay.
Champs. What's going on,
man?
Homie?
Look,
Late.
It's obvious, bro. Nintendo is in its own space of competition. When you put Sony next to Xbox, you're gonna have a lot of differing opinions. So therefore, there's gonna be more controversy when Sony does something or Microsoft does something, more so than if Nintendo does their own thing, because they're in their own space. So they're gonna get blasted more. Sony does something as the top dog, they're gonna get ragged because they're supposed to be better than that. And vice versa. If Xbox was the top dog, same difference. So that's why Nintendo can get away with shit. They're in their own little space where no one's really competing with them. That's my 2 cents.
So basically what you're saying, right, is that Sony's black.
Sony's what? Black?
Oh my God. Come on. Really?
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Wait,
Hear me out.
he had to go and do it right now before the end, but he's like, I gotta get
But hear me out. When I was younger, right?
Yeah.
I had a friend, he was white. And me and him used to go to a store, right? And we used to steal just one fucking Milky Way. Just one. And we used to leave. And it wasn't all the time. It was like once a month. And he called us both, the owner. And he wanted to call the cops and everybody on me. You know why, right? Not because I was black, though. I don't want to make you feel like it's racist.
Shit.
It's that we knew better. I knew better. You know, little Timmy over there was like, oh, I was just hungry, right? So when I said, I was just hungry, it was like, motherfucker, you knew better than that shit. I know your mom told you this shit. Way in the womb, she was rubbing her stomach. It was like, nigga, don't you steal nothing, you know, because they're gonna be watching you. You know what I mean? So the expectations is high for Sony. Is all I'm saying. I'm just joking. But the expectations
I got a fatal four-way to fight right there.
We're already done here. Yeah, the expectation is higher for Sony because of the moral high ground. They already are known for a certain quality, so they're not trying to get
exactly. This is exactly like the third-party companies. They have to reach all the platforms. They have to make as much money as humanly possible. Console companies have to bring you in with a certain amount of quality to get you to come to the consoles in the first place, and they have to keep you there. It's not just like they're eventually going to start getting into microtransaction things, but they're going to be learning from the third-party companies, and third parties are going to be learning from them about making certain type of quality games. Look at Square Enix learning from Sony about making quality single-player games. I mean,
everybody's going to learn from each other, which is great, and everybody does learn from each other, which is great. Like you have the whole. Exactly. I mean, I know Hang Gliders was in other games or shit like that, or the glider, but Sony saw that shit was, you know, people like this shit, so they were like, "Yo, we're trying to mix it in, remix it." Even though they were doing it with Zero Dawn, I know for purists out there, but they really made sure that it was in Forbidden West. Everybody learns from each other. So my closing comment is fucking Champ. Where the fuck were you at, man? You need Champs. Champs. I was like, yo, you gotta hear. Yo, I changed up my show a little bit. Not for Saturdays. Saturdays are what they are. but I do like a little hump day thing. And at first I was going to be like, oh, I'm going to talk about off-topic things to be different. And I changed it. It's still going to be about news, gaming news from, Saturday to Wednesday. But here's the thing, right? I have story time, yo. Go to my channel, the YouTube channel, which is a Gamecast, and listen to. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about my story time. My story time is about like 7 to 10 minutes of something that happened to me that week. You know what I'm saying? That was ridiculous. Just listen to that story time, man. You know what I'm saying? But that's how I'm going to do it. I'll do like a little story time. Maybe we talk about the gaming news on Wednesdays, which is that. But the second thing I want to say is, I think I left a note for myself. Let me see here so I won't forget. You think about Nintendo, right? And when is this going to end where Sony is going to get crucified? I think personally, when it comes to Sony, they made too many changes too fast. It changed too much, right? And that's why it's everything that they're doing is so jarring. In the span of like a year, right? They start putting crazy shit on fucking PCs. They had the the upgrades was all fucked up. You know what I mean? Then you got microtransactions, and then they were saying, "Oh, we're going to do games as a service as well." They dropped all that shit on you within 12 months. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I guarantee you, if they spread that shit out over 5 years, it wouldn't have been so bad. You know what I'm saying? So once all this gets out the media system, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking at the shit in a macro way on how Sony is going to take care of this shit. Even with quality, people are going to crucify them in general. But I do think that money talks. Yes, people are going to clearly see. Yeah, people are going to see the quality of the stuff that they do because Sony's trying to balance the quality. I'm not saying that they're infallible or I love everything that they do. There's a lot of shit that they can fix. That's a whole other fucking podcast, which I probably make. But I'm looking at the situation. You can't deny that they put a lot of money into their shit. A lot of money. Like a shit ton of money. When I was running around in the desert in Forbidden West and I saw Aloy visibly sweating, they didn't have to put that in there. They really didn't. Somebody thought about the fucking peach fuzz on people's face. Not just Aloys, but people. None of that had to be in there. None of that had to be in there. Somebody had to make a technology to make it work. The cloud system, all that shit that's going on, eventually that has to get recognized. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I play Elden Ring, it makes it hard for me to play Elden Ring back to back. Because that's what I do pretty much every night. I'll play Elden Ring and that back to back.
Wait, how is Elden Ring, by the way?
Elden Ring is Dark Souls 4, open world.
Okay, good, okay.
So people say, and I'm just saying that's what it is. People say that as an open world game is huge, and it is. But the way that they structure it is you have this hub world that branches out like spider legs, if you could think of it like that, right?
All right.
The spider legs for each area is kind of curated and designed like a linear game. So each spider leg is basically like a Souls game in itself or a DLC, basically. So you can think of the hub worlds being open. Day and night cycles have very little impact of the game. You have different enemies, but that's pretty much it. There's a lot of places that you can't go and a lot of bottomless pits. And I always hated that throughout the whole time I was gaming. I don't like bottomless pits. So there's places that you can't go, but it kind of corrals you into other areas. So they have a really decent illusion to making it seem like it's a really, really big open world. It's a giant linear game, just put it that way.
That's what's up. It's good.
So that's how I describe it. In terms of the graphics, the only thing that holds this game together is them fucking ether trees. I'm sorry. If you took away those, if you take away the ether trees, those fucking golden trees, that game will look bald-headed. I'm just saying. There's still trees that make that game look the way that it does.
Is it the gold tree?
Hey, what's wrong with being bald?
Big one.
Oh shit!
See, are you serious, man? You want to do this right before the end of your podcast?
Come on,
serious, man.
Don't bald shame.
Yo, if you know what it looked like, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this shit, right? I mean, it's a black chick, right?
Experience being bald. I know it's like
no, not bald. No.
On top of my head and stuff like that. I can feel that.
Not bald for men, but like if you ever had like a black chick, right? I remember. This is a little bit of my story time, right? So look, I get it. I get it. She was, she was fine as shit, right? Beautiful fucking skin, y'all. She was dark skin. Beautiful skin. Beautiful. I mean, just looked like she was fucking a human chocolate bar, right?
Wow.
She wanted to get comfortable, right? Because, black people, we already know about, we don't, like black women, and just our hair is very irritating to fuck with. So she got real comfortable, right? And she took off her hair.
Jesus Christ.
And it just looked weird to me. That's how Elden Ring looked. It's just a beautiful girl.
She took off her hair. Damn.
Her hair. She took the wig off. She was like, "Oh, finally!" She put that shit on a nightstand, like on.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, it's not that she looked ugly or anything like that. She didn't. It just looked like it's something missing. You know what I mean? It's
you know what to say about that, mate? If there's no hair to pull, get a plunger on that bad boy.
Yo, you get a lot of leverage when you hit it from the back. Just swoop.
Oh my god!
Yeah, mad leverage. Black. With that plunger, No, I'm fucking with you.
That's fucked up. I'm literally a bald woman.
It's just crazy.
It's good though. There's a lot of things you can do. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god.
Hey, before y'all go, I wanted to ask. So I never played any. I played Bloodborne, and I can't. I don't like Souls games. I never finished one. So are Souls games, like, to me, the simplest, like, it feels like it's just a boss-based game, bro. Like, all you're doing is just fighting bosses all day and just seeing what the badass boss you can be. And that's boring to me. So what is it, like, how would you describe it? Is it that simple? Is it just a boss game? Or, like, how would you describe a Souls game? Or Elden Ring? Like, what's the appeal of it?
I got you. I literally delved so deep into this situation. I mean, I put in a lot of work trying to understand the psyche of a Souls fan, and I came up with some things for you, just for you, nigga, right? For me too, because I was like, "What the fuck's going on?" Souls games are all about the trolling and patience. So to answer your question, the short answer is it's a boss-based game essentially. And what they'll do, sometimes the level is a fucking boss. You know what I'm saying? They have things designed where they'll drop an enemy on your head and that enemy will just go buck fucking wild and you can't even react. So you have to do by trial and error or just take the shit slow as you go into an area. The lore to the Souls games, right, is to fucking get at the troll that created the game, which is Miyazaki. So what you do is he'll give you a lot of builds and you take these builds, right? And you find a way, because Miyazaki would do things like enemies would like one-shot you or close to one-shot you. You have to worry about your stamina or try to scare you. They do a whole bunch of things. But if you're prepared, you create a really good build that could just eviscerate a boss. It's finding that puzzle. To me, this is in my head how I see it. It's finding the puzzle of making a build to like stick it to Miyazaki. You know what I'm saying? For his trolly ass fucking designs.
So the boss is Miyazaki. You're fighting him.
You're fighting him because the levels are designed to do stupid shit. And you're fighting the people that's around there too. Let me see. David said the best thing about Elden Ring or any
So Miyazaki is essentially the Riddler.
He is, yo. He's a jackass. Yo, you know I know. Yo,
I got you.
You played, if you ever played Bloodborne, you did. You say you played Bloodborne. So they had like these really slow. They had these really slow, oily looking fucking crows, right?
Yeah.
That would just slide around. You don't really pay it no mind. You're like, that shit ugly. Why it look like that? Right? You just slide around. And then instead of using a bird soundbite, he uses a fucking rabbit dog soundbite for the crows. And they just go buck wild. They'll just creep near you. Be like, what the fuck? And it throws you off.
Like, okay, with me, bro, if I'm gonna go with a game kind of like that, I don't know if it's a game like that. It may be a horrible comparison. I like God of War's combat. I don't really like to wait and just respond. I like to attack, bro, and that's why I didn't really like it because I had to wait for a dude to attack me, and I'm just like, why the hell am I waiting? I want to be the aggressor at all times, and that's why I like
Bloodborne. Actually, Bloodborne is probably the best Souls games for a person like you, which is like me.
Yeah,
the fighting mechanics is trash to me in Elden Ring. It is, but Elden Ring is all about exploration. So I said before, Miyazaki is the boss. Like he's pulling the strings to troll his the people who's playing the game. But it's a risk reward situation. If you can start exploring areas, right, and find a weapon that's better than what you have, or find something to upgrade your weapons, that's where the exploration comes into play and makes it rewarding. You're like, I fought through this shit. Now I got the fucking item to fuck this bitch up. But Elden Ring is the only game that allows for you to be like, you know what? That boss is a little bit too much. I'll come back to your ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in terms of the other Souls games, your progress was fucking just, there's a brick wall. If you couldn't fight that boss, you can't proceed. That's how it works.
Wow. They should bring it into microtransactions. $20 to skip this boss.
Bro, they will make a fucking killing,
Ubisoft, oh my god.
You know what they'll say? They'll say is the most innovative thing. This is how you implement microtransactions. This is how you do it. You know what I'm saying? Because
to be honest, mate, the way that the gaming industry is going, it won't surprise me if soon you've got to pay $50 just to get the platinum.
See, and here's the thing, I know, right? Here's the thing, Double Shooter, right? He says PvP also is a really big aspect, invading other people or helping people, right? See, in terms of invading people, here's the problem with the other Souls games. Well, I should say Elden Ring more so. But Bloodborne is probably the best PvP out of this formula because it played like a fighting game. And I get what you're saying, you want to be the aggressor, but in fighting games, you have to pay attention to your iframes and the enemy's iframes. And they alter the iframes or invincibility frames in Elden Ring. So there's some times you'll waste your whole stamina shot, right? Trying to hit the enemy, and he'll just eat the shit because he's invincible because he's getting up or whatever. And it wasn't like that with the other Souls games. So there's a lot of conflicting things that I'm not really feeling. In terms of exploration, it is. I'm always big on exploration. I'm a sucker for open world games. You know what I'm saying? I just wish it looked prettier. Like it would have been nice if it looked like Demon Souls. That would have been really nice.
Like it better than Bloodborne.
Now we've gotten to the heart of the actual issue.
After
all this time,
what happened?
Now arrived. After all this time, we've now arrived to the heart of this whole issue. I just wish it looked a little bit better.
It would have made me more engaged with it for sure, but it still has fundamental gameplay issues.
Why do people try to downplay graphics? Why,
let's not.
Hold on. There's a lot of people who thought Breath of the Wild was one of the most beautiful games of all time.
Its art style is sick.
The art style is cool.
And the art style makes up for the fact that it doesn't have the other type of graphics, correct? It can play well on a console and still look beautiful, even if the console is 1080p to 100.
No. Excuse yourself. That was what?
Excuse yourself.
Excuse yourself. That was 5 years ago. You can't put that shit out nowadays and think that shit is acceptable.
My good man. No, I'm sorry. Breath of the Wild 2. Have you not seen that? It looks beautiful.
You're right. It do look very similar. But here's the thing, right?
It looked like Ni no Kuni.
You're right.
Lord, that's a beautiful looking game.
But here's the thing about Elden Ring.
Zelda did it first.
You tell me.
Yo, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Elden Ring.
You tell Miyazaki he makes an ugly looking game, you're going to hell.
Wait, hold on. Here's the thing about Elden Ring, right? Elden Ring is trying to go for a semi-realistic look, not a cartoon or anime look. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, you have fucking grids of grass that pop. You know what I'm saying? It's a very inconsistent game, and the performance is shot. And you know what I mean? And people have powerful
Wait,
computers.
does it have that thing from the old Souls games where if someone's far away, they move like a whole
Yes. They move like they move like a flip book.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see that if you look at it. They had like these big ass like fucking bat people. No motherfuckers was relegated to 2 frames, up and down. Yo, their wings was either up or down. Nothing in the middle. I said, what the fuck is this shit?
Gamecast. Hey, you remember when the people were making jokes about the fact that Demon Souls, the remake, looked better from Bluepoint than the original Demon Souls? Sorry, or of almost any game that pretty much the company like. Fuck is this?
Wait, who said? Wait. Who said that? Who said that it looked better?
Bluepoint's Demon Souls look better than almost all of Hold on one second. Miyazaki. Forgot what the company's name is again. Just had a brain fart just now.
But you're saying that people said that Demon Souls look better than all the rest of the other games?
Yeah, all of the. I forgot what the other game is called. What the company is called again. Forgot.
What, Bluepoint?
Not Bluepoint. The original company who made Demon Souls.
From Software.
There you go. Okay. They were saying that their games look. Demon Souls looks better than all their other games. So they were.
It does.
No, but I understand that they're acknowledging those things, and stuff like that. And
you saying from Software?
They have their work cut off. They have their work cut off for them, stuff like that.
Should have delayed it.
And the game came out, and it still doesn't look better than something Bluepoint made. Bluepoint, which is just making a remake of the game that they originally made. I mean, so that has, I think that it has to be a conscious effort and also a budget thing. So, I mean, on their part. So, I mean, they could make something better. They could. Just does Miyazaki want to?
They don't have to.
Exactly. They don't have to.
This game, look, it took them 5 years to make the NPC's mouth move.
Wait, what?
The NPC's mouths are like, like the little quest givers, where they be just like there's some hooker on the corner and shit. There's always a hooker in this game, Joe.
Do you know how long it took Nintendo to make NPCs whose mouths move but say nothing?
I mean, this is true, but you always have a hooker in this game. She's like,
oh my God.
She's like, it is. In Elden Ring, is that one girl? Don't take shame of it. Lay on my lap. And let me touch. She's always the same thing, but their mouth don't move.
Weirdo niggas, bro.
Their mouth don't move. Like I will say, Bloodborne did that shit. Shit was funny because one of the guys that was the head of the upgrade place, it was a doll that helped you to upgrade your character, right? So you go to her, she'll do it. He was like, "Oh, you can use this place of study. You can even use the doll sexually if you like." I was like, "Oh, what the fuck? What you mean?"
Tell us about it.
He was like, "This nigga was busting nuts in this fucking blow up doll, yo." Talking about something you can use the doll and shit. What the fuck are you doing, dude? I'm so you can't be not. Yo, go to YouTube and go to Bloodborne and say Garmin in the doll. He says you can even use the doll if it so pleases you. I said, "Oh, what the fuck?" That's what he said.
What the fuck?
That's what he said in the game. I was like, "Oh, wait," and they had a hooker in there. She was like, "Look, there's no shame in it. There's no shame.
I've got to ask you the question: did you use the doll?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of course you would say. Of course you would ask him that question, man.
Yeah, she was one of those. She was one of them animatronic fucking shits, yo. They made the fucking Terminator sound.
Oh my God!
I was like, "Oh shit!"
Was that sound followed by pleasure?
Oh, you broke up. Say again.
Nothing.
No,
you heard what I said.
That shit cut out.
A question.
Yeah.
Yo, okay. It's a niche market, but I thought it was gonna stick when it first was announced. Nobody at all is talking about Dreams. Why is that, bro? Like, it's the same company that made Little Big Planet, but Dreams looks good. Has an 89 on Metacritic. No one plays it. Why is that? Like, is it too artistic? Like,
I'm gonna tell you.
What the hell is up with that?
That is what it is.
I'm gonna tell you exactly what's the problem with Dreams. This is what they should have done.
It looks great. I haven't played it though.
The single player.
Oh, wait, hold on. You're one of the people you're suspecting then.
Yeah, like I like artistic shit. Like that's why I like Little Big Planet. Like I never made no worlds in Little Big Planet, but I would jump in people's worlds and like, shit, you made this? I'm like, damn.
Well, that's not. I think you might have answered your own question.
You keep breaking up, man. You keep breaking up.
You're breaking up too, man. Hey, hold on, I need to get new headphones, man. Hold on one second. Let me change my headphones.
Look, no accountability, man. What's this? He's like, you're breaking up too. That's how clear as shit, man. I got that fucking fiber optic. Talking about. Here's the reason for Dreams not being successful, right? Its single player was so pushed to the side and back. The whole shtick for Dreams is the creator content. They should have made a full ass game. They should have sold a game first and everything else second, because they have an art style with Dreams, right?
Yeah.
And they do have a single player game with Dreams. And you know what it is? Because the game is full, and it's a funny game. It's a really cool game. The funny thing about Dreams, right, is this funny and everything, but it's all about Dreams, right? They should have had, after you completed the game or got to a certain place, a door to open the portal to everyone else's dreams, or opens the, what do you call it? Like just have like a room with like a matrix of bubbles, and you can select the bubble you want, and it just takes you to the area. It should have been integrated in that way. It's never been sold as an actual game. It's been sold as software for you to make your own game, and that was the wrong thing to do.
Damn.
You can salvage it for sure. You can absolutely salvage the situation, because I mean, you look at what do you call it? No Man's what is it? No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
And that shit was all fucked up, but they turned that shit all around. I was thinking to myself, should they make it free? Should they do this? Should they do that? You can't make it free. They gotta make it into a game. Cool. And I'm gonna sound like a fucked up person, but like White Chocolate said, right? A company always gonna make some money. Now, the big thing on the block now is called NFTs. And that's digital content that you get to keep. So if they use these levels, right? And if I created a level, I should be able to NFT that bitch. And that'll make people.
A good idea.
That'll make. I have a video on my YouTube channel about that shit, because I really was passionate about Dreams. But and this is old news. This is what I've always been saying. But if I was going to get a kickback from PlayStation, that game would start bustling, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the other issue. The other issue is the development tools is not as easier now, but it needs to be even easier. It needs like a 2-tier layer. The first tier is I can make something simple, or I could take other people's creations and just throw something together, right? And clip it like Legos. The second tier is actual, like what people have been doing the whole time. So they do have something quasi like that, where you can kind of piece together levels and shit like that. Yeah. But it's not as intuitive and it's not as clean as what I envisioned in my head.
I mean, they should release it on PC with the. I mean, I think it would be better with mouse and keyboard.
They are, but the thing is, they're still trying to find a way to monetize people's creation, and that's the biggest thing. I think NFTs are probably going to play a big role into this shit, and I don't mind that shit. Wouldn't it be cool if I crafted, right? Let's say, I don't know, like I do beats, right? If I made a song and NFT that shit in Dreams, and if you wanted that kind of soundtrack for the thing, you would have to give me money, not to just use it. I guess you could say just use it, and I'll get royalties off of whatever you get. But to create a billing system for that ecosystem is probably too much. Like the juice is not worth the squeeze for that. At least not yet. But you got to do investments and stuff like that. And Sony has a lot on their plate. Dreams will make a big comeback for the PS5. I've been hearing. I'm just kind of curious. You can't just say, "Oh, it's better graphics." You gotta come correct. And they've been doing like Dreams 2.0 and Dreams 3.0 and shit like that. But, yeah.
I like how you just gave an off-the-dome explanation, like a whole in-depth explanation of Dreams. I respect that, bro. That's why
I appreciate that, but that wasn't off the dome thing. Like I said before, I've been
thinking about it, but you just spat that out.
It was just a random ass game too. That was it's nothing like Elden Ring, nothing at all.
I'm passionate about things. I appreciate it, guys. I'm passionate about the shit that I'm passionate about. It's not like a necessarily PlayStation or anything like that. You know what I like? I'll say this, and then we can end it. I actually really adored the GameCube as a console. I've really fucking liked that console.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? The Star Fox Adventures, like the graphics were so fucking off the chain, man. If you ever played Star Fox Adventures, they had the fur, the boot. They had Fox with the boots and the fur. The whole fucking crowd was looking at that nigga, and he was out there. Yo, he had this hair combed and pressed as the fur. That shit, look, it ran at 60 frames a second. They had reflections, like a screen space reflections on the water. It never dropped in frames. It was a gorgeous fucking game. You know what I'm saying? And it played really well. And then you had Zelda Wind Waker, which, to be honest with you, I think Wind Waker is better than Breath of the Wild. And the reason why I think it's better is because the environments, you had places that you actually went and it was levels. I like that level aspects and shit like that. Like, there's one thing, and everybody says that it's so good. Is Breath of the Wild or open world games are so good. They're open, but most of the time, if you really look at it, and this is something about Cyberpunk too, right? It is easy to just draw fields of grass and some mountains. It's very easy to do that. To actually craft a town with people moving in it and doing their things, shit, fucking Ocarina of Time had farmers and shit like that. If you ever played Zone of the Enders, they had towns, Squaresoft back in the day, Square Enix used to make that shit. You had towns where people were farmers, and when it became nighttime, they would go in their house and close the door and shit like that. And they would come. That's the type of open world experiences I'm looking for. If it has Ubisoft elements, so fucking be it. But those things are living, bustling fucking thing. Like in Horizon, people don't want to give it credit for being West. There's bars and taverns and shit like that. And you know what happens if you wait until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning? People start going home. And at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just like a real fucking bar, ain't nobody in that bitch.
Yeah, I seen you talk about that. I checked it out actually. It's real.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh shit. I was like, wow, and there's just so much stuff. This is why I was saying earlier about high budget games or high production value games. Just because it looks good doesn't mean they compromised on gameplay. Let's not think that's going on, because you have a lot of situations going on with Horizon. And I'll say this, because I think a lot of people don't understand Horizon as to what it was. You know what I'm saying? Horizon as a game, this is what I truly believe is the problem with Horizon. Is I think it's going to come up with a renaissance. Mark my fucking words, everybody. I see you, champs. I see you. Mark my words, right? It's going to have multiplayer. I was fucking right when I told you Returnal. Last year, I said Returnal was going to have co-op, but it's going to be beautiful. I told y'all niggas this shit.
Does that need to happen, though? Like, hey, can you hear me now, actually? Can you hear me?
For which game?
I changed my headset.
I can hear you. For which game?
No, for Horizon.
How the gameplay is going to be?
No,
Well, this is the reason.
I mean, does it really need to have multiplayer? And this is the problem with
it's just
giving
extra,
into what
bro.
people
It's
say all the
extra.
time.
You know, they can add it.
Yeah,
I
like,
want you.
the problem with Horizon, why people went off of it is because of the fact that you have a bigger game that came out. Period. I mean, even if it was half the people, a certain portion of those people, and it sold more on PlayStation with Horizon than Elden Ring. Still a certain portion of people went straight to Elden Ring, even if they made double purchase. Like I bought Breath of the Wild and I bought Horizon same time, and then I played Breath of the Wild first. And then I went to Horizon second. Eventually, those people are going to come to that game, and eventually they're going to realize, hey, maybe this game is much better than I thought it was going to be.
I think that's going to happen, but they need something as a catalyst.
Time.
But they needs 5 months down the line, probably when it gets its first price cut, man, people are going to give it a try and be like, damn, this shit, not just the graphics, this is a cool fucking game. But I think you need a double whammy on this shit too. I think you also need, right? I think you also need something to draw people in there. The reason why I think that Horizon Forbidden West is going to have multiplayer is 2 reasons. Can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Cool. The first thing is when Horizon Zero Dawn was in the process of being created, it was already going to have multiplayer. Number one. Number two, if you pay attention to the actual gameplay when you play in Forbidden West, it is a very complicated game with armor and things and statuses that can penetrate armor and things like that. And these enemies are really fucking, the machines are very fucking complicated. Very complicated. And I'm thinking to myself, I guarantee you're probably going to have situations where you have to down an enemy and they fall on their stomach, right? And player 1 and player 2 need to be on either side. Y'all both need to shoot that motherfucker at the same time to get double damage or some shit like that. The type of modifications that you get, I'm just saying, y'all listening, the type of modifications that you get is very circumstantial. Like if you're in the air, right? It gives you double damage. So they want you to be more active. It's like weird modifications like that lets me know that they want you to do some spectacular shit that only a multiplayer environment will do. And I think the price drop in conjunction with the co-op is going to reinvigorate this game again. Then people are going to be like, this is the best game I've ever seen in my life.
Does it really need to be?
It doesn't.
Yeah, the game fell off quickly in, well, at least on the internet. That's what I'm saying, because of Elden Ring.
It fell off quickly. Here's the reason why Elden Ring, because again, the media said that they wanted it to be Game of the Year, Elden Ring, but more importantly, Elden Ring
wanted it.
Yeah, Elden Ring, right?
It's
more
clear.
Important.
It's like a front runner right now.
I get you.
Yeah,
but that's one of the things. But one of the media just keeps talking this like it's a Game of the Year, and I'm not saying that Horizon is Game of the Year either. It's my personal Game of the Year, but you know, different strokes.
And that's all that matters in the end.
And that's all that matters. But the thing about Horizon, right, or the thing about Elden Ring that made it successful is it's a co-op game. All co-op games are very prone to just being constantly played, and plus the game also focuses on people looking at you rage. So that's another culture that this follows. And the third thing is this: it does not have a clear story. Your main character it's not a main character with a name and everything like that. You make your own main character. Horizon, you got a storyline and that's it. You know what I'm saying? With Aloy, and it has a very linear thing. Truth be told, you can go online and look at the fucking story and close the book on that bitch. I don't need to necessarily quote unquote play it. You know what I'm saying? So all those things works against Horizon Forbidden West because it doesn't have co-op. It doesn't have any kind of multiplayer. It's not in that it's not trying to troll you, and you're not going to rage quit on the shit. And you have easy modes too. I can put this shit on easy and beat the fucking game, but you can't do that in Elden Ring.
By that
you
point, you
deal
can
with what they give you.
Yeah, but I mean, if you need those concessions to be made, then you're making that same argument for almost any Sony action adventure game.
Exactly. That's exactly the point.
No, but
all of them are. All of them. To do what?
To make those concessions.
Yes.
I mean, we can
The
concede
reason
that
why
some-
the reason why
No, but
the-
it's a good observation on your part that you were capable of seeing that there are certain additions that might be made to the game. The problem is that you need for there to be a concession to justify people coming back to this game when it really could actually just be that the other game was just more popular at the time and people will be coming to it later.
It will always be popular because it has the co-op element. You're not tied to a story. You know what I'm saying? And it's rage inducing. All that in terms, it's and not for me, but you can look at Twitch and see people rage and they lose like 1 million souls or 1 million fucking whatever rooms, I guess what you call it in this game. And people live to see that shit. They want to see the fuckery. They love it.
I think it's also the fan following of the Souls genre. I mean, as a whole, like, and it also didn't launch like trash like Cyberpunk. So as long as it delivered on 90% of what it promised, it was going to get Game of the Year just because of the fan following and things like that. Especially like I was told that they lessened the difficulty in the beginning so people who are more casual could get in.
Exactly.
And of course, heighten the rating up. And so it's like, of course, like
as well.
You put these like J.R.R. Martins, you put all of this, like it was hyped in a hoe, like it was crazy. But you gotta also look at it as the first like gigantic multi-platform game on this current gen console that actually succeeded. Like you just have Horizon, who doesn't maybe have as a big of a following as Souls games.
It's the second type of type of game of its kind because if you call it a what do you call it again? Even if you call it a Ubisoft like copy or whatever the case is, Ubisoft games or really any game doesn't play like Horizon. I mean, you got the running, the climbing, and sliding shit, but Horizon is primarily a range. It's a shooter essentially.
RPG. It's an ARPG.
It's a type of shooter RPG situation where you have to shoot parts off and shit like that. And we don't necessarily have a game like that because the only game that you have is Monster Hunter, but Monster Hunter, well, you don't even aim in there. You have to physically aim in this shit.
Mm-hmm. It's like Monster Hunter meets Dino Crisis.
Well, Monster Hunter is Far Cry don't have little points you could take off and use it to your advantage and shit like that.
Visibly, at least, yes.
But you can't pick up a piece of shit and shoot somebody with it. You don't got robot dinosaurs either that does that
closer
shit.
To a Monster Hunter in that way.
It's closer to a Monster Hunter in that way. That's where it's really close to, right? But Monster Hunter is melee based.
Yeah.
So you can't even say it's that either. It's one of a kind thing, and I think that it has the same syndrome as a pretty woman, if you're hetero, as a pretty woman that has a fucking PhD.
Oh,
even though she's fucking smart as shit, you just be like, she can't have it all. You know what I'm saying? I bet you, like, you will question this chick, like, you know. So what I'm saying? Like, she's pretty.
A pretty chick with a PhD.
Yes, I'm a PhD. Mm-hmm. if you're a fan of Kevin Samuels, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah,
so it's really just up to freaking God of War Ragnarok to knock off Elden Ring, but you know it's not going to happen because people are already preparing to like overly criticize God of War. Like that's my biggest thing. Like you literally see it. You see it happening right now. You see people are like, their critical freaking eye is going to be on God of War. Yeah, like, even if it could be a 10 out of 10, good damn well they're not going to let Elden Ring get Game of the Year.
Cory Barlog is already off the project, so we all have our excuse now. I'm not just kidding.
No, that's valid. But here's the thing: you want to know what's wrong with Horizon and why it can't be looked at as a viable option. People love drama. People love drama, and people love success stories. You know what I'm saying? But once you're successful, they're like, I don't like it anymore. It's boring. The same thing with Sony and their PlayStation. See, when it came to God of War, people were already tired of Kratos. They were sick of Kratos. He's the same one-trick pony with anger issues, right? And nobody was... So when they changed it up, made it into Norse mythology, right? They had the beard. At the time of God of War, everybody was trying to grow a beard because that was a cool thing to do, right? So they had the beard. Check. They also had the fucking MCU Thorish situation with the what do you call that fucking game? The movie again? The Avengers. And when they saw fucking Kratos call back the fucking axe with his hand, it was already destined to take a little bit of magic from the MCU type situation, right? And he had a beard.
Bro.
And it was a redemption
That's a conspiracy.
Story. I thought he was.
It's true.
I thought he was dead in God of War 3, bro.
It's a conspiracy.
Well, he keeps dying. That's the thing. I already knew that nigga wasn't dead anyway because this nigga keeps dying.
That when it first showed, bro, they first showed the trailer, I remember it. I was watching that whole. I was like, "What game is this, bro?" I was like, I thought it was like Horizon Zero Dawn.
People thought it was Horizon. People thought it was Horizon. Even I was like, "What's this little kid?"
I was like, "What is this?" And then they showed Kratos, bro. I nutted. I was like, "Oh, shit.
the way,
he's got a beard, nigga."
Yo, the way that they introduced him was so fucking masterclass. Boy.
This
the little kid was playing toys,
bro. And they got a new voice actor. That's what got us too.
And his voice I'm sorry. I mean, I know people like to live a single nigga. Yo, this guy is better. I'm sorry, it is. But here's the thing. He comes in there. He's like, boy. You know, the little kid's like, he said he was in a fucking dark fetus. And he threw that fucking axe, and he came out the shadows, and they do. Everybody, I love it.
And then they gave us some gameplay, bro. I was just like, that was
when he was fucking beating the fucking people up, and he called back, he fucking did the frost, and then they said and then we all knew it was Norse mythology, right? But then when he did the Spartan rage, they showed you the R3 and L3. It was like Spartan rage. What is happening? So it is that Kratos, but what happened?
But like when he was trying to calm himself down, and like when the freaking son was pissing him off, and he was trying to, it was awesome, bro.
That's how my grandma is. Like if you have a black family, yo, that's how it is. You know,
like, are you talking before you or after you get hit with a belt?
Belts. I didn't get hit with a belt, man. Open fist, man. She wanted to feel the impact. The belt diminished the impact.
She gave you that E-Honda.
You know what I mean? The belt was taking the pleasure away, yo. I remember.
God damn.
I remember I came home. She was like, get the mayonnaise, $3.99 Hellman's. I was like, okay, cool. I had food stamps. I was walking through the store. I was 9 years old, and I didn't see the medium-sized Hellman's. I got the large. You know what she did, yo? My grandma, I love her to death. But when she would get angry, she would scream like she was in pain. So I came here. I was like, hey, Mom. She adopted me. I was like, I didn't see the medium one, so I got the large one so it can last longer. She said, motherfuckers. I said, oh, shit. Who the fuck told you to get this size of mayonnaise? Who the fuck gonna eat it? So she was just like Kratos. You know, as she got older, she had to suppress that shit, yo. She'd be like, that's why when I saw that shit was funny. When Kratos was like, what are you doing? I told you to shoot your mother. I told you.
You have to calm down.
He was about to lose his shit, yo. It just reminded me of my grandma.
He was about to lose his shit.
He was about to punch that little kid, yo. And then he was like, you are not ready. I am ready. Shut the fuck up. I was like, oh shit. No, he didn't say that. But it would have been lit if he did.
Yo, hey, so I had a last question because I got to deal. Has it been confirmed? Like I kind of missed a lot of gaming news for like the past year. I'm really just trying to catch up. But what was being said about this $70 price point of these games? Like, is that a constant theme? Is that everybody is going to be like, what is up with that? Why is it not $60 no more? And are we getting more content or something? Like, what's up with that?
Wait, what game are you talking about?
Just in general, like how they're releasing $70 games. Let's say like Gran Turismo. Everyone's like,
okay,
$70 game.
I got you. I'm gonna answer this shit. See, I'm well versed in the gaming industry. I don't talk about shit that, you know, that's typical. I talk about things that are atypical, right? So I got you. When you played a PlayStation 1 game, do you remember the environments?
Trash.
What they look like, right? The environments that you would see, they barely had a fucking chair in that fucking bedroom. If you had a room, some little things here and there, right? But then you take it to the PS2. Now you can put chairs and litter and extra textures and reflections, right? Then you move to PS3. Now you have fucking shadows and extra lights and dust in the air. Then you move to PS4. The detail keeps increasing. And each time you add a layer of detail or more objects, somebody has to make it. That's why back in the day, when you had a PlayStation 1 game, you only needed 10 people to make the game. And when you had a PS2 game, you needed 100 people. And when you had a PS3 game, you needed 300 people. And when you had a PS4 game, because of diminishing returns, you needed 400 people. And PS5 games, because the worlds are so much bigger and you don't need to compromise, you need 500 to 600 people. $60 isn't going to cut it. But 70 just may.
Damn. Yeah, a lot of people were tripping over that price hike, and I was like, I don't understand it. I thought it was coming with the PS4 era, to be honest, but it didn't.
I didn't want it to come to any fucking era, but I understand it. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever been abroad, but if you go to the Middle East, they pay like $130 for our game. So, they're buying from American companies like Sony, Microsoft. So they're subsidizing our prices. You know that, right?
Oh, you already know. You already know. You already know.
The most important consumer, so they just say, fuck them, they'll pay it. But it just subsidizes our prices. It's not the same all over the world.
It's not. That's why Europe shit is the first time it really became out of whack for the Sony portion. And I'm just talking about the UK and London and all that other shit, right? So here's the thing.
Damn.
The problem with it is that this is why microtransactions started to explode, because it's just not enough money, and Sony keeps upping the ante too with the stuff that they're putting in there. Like when Aloy is sweating, somebody had to model that. Somebody had to put that in there. You need programmers, and each person you put aboard, they need to get paid. So these microtransactions, that's why when people say, oh, dude, Game Pass will work. Game Pass will work if you have 300 million subscribers. That will never happen because not everybody has strong enough computers or equipment to run it. So you can't do that. And in terms of microtransactions, $60, $70 games is not going to feed 600 fucking people with the quality that you're looking for. So you got to be a realist. A lot of these people that are on their high ground and expecting things to stay the same while doubling or quadrupling the quality is completely unrealistic.
No, dude, like they're making it. To me, it looks like they're cutting down the quality, which I haven't seen amazing quality from Xbox in a long time. I mean, granted, I like the Forza games, but like when I'm talking about like how it was back in the 360 days, like in the beginning of the 360 days, towards the end of it, it was just got garbage. But like, I just haven't seen that great of quality where I'm like, damn, I got to go buy one of those consoles versus PlayStation. Dude, they're always setting the bar high as hell. And that's why we were talking about earlier, like how they're being criticized so much more, it seems like, because they're always like breaking the freaking, like the bar that they set. Like they're setting the bar and then breaking it. And it's just like, damn. But Xbox isn't like that, bro. Like someone was telling me about that Redfall game and I didn't know about it. So I went to go look at it real quick on YouTube. I'm like, bro, this gives me such an Xboxy feel. Like what the hell? Like you didn't even need to tell me who was making this game and who it was for, because it just doesn't even look like a legit ass game. Like it looks like it should be. It looks like it should be free, bro. Like I'm like, what is this? Bro? Like,
you would know what. I'm
not impressed. I'm not impressed.
You would know what gives the Xbox feel. It's a checklist from a board meeting. Let's have a black chick with curly hair. Cool. We got an Asian. Is there Asian? Yeah, let's do that. Oh, people like petting dogs in games. Just put that in there too. Awesome. They like vampires. You put that in there too. But make them zombie vampires too. Oh, cool. Put that in there. It's like they go to a board meeting and see what's hot, what's cool, what's hip. And then they have to be inclusive. That's why when you play Forza Horizon, you can break both of these bitches' arms and legs and put prosthetics on this bitch. And she just have prosthetic woman. You know what I'm saying? And they just do it for inclusion. I'm sorry, it's what it is. Bro,
you can tell that like Microsoft's roots are just not really deep into Like it's like they got lucky with Halo and Gears, and just like you know what I'm saying. Like it doesn't.
The people,
when you're playing
today,
like when you're playing Sony games, you're like, oh shit, this looks like a legit like company. And Nintendo, they look like legit companies who give a shit about gaming. Like Xbox, like Microsoft's just kind of like they're kind of dude bro-ish and they're kind of like corporate-ish, and it's like, what the hell is this? Like, and that's Xbox, why it's weird. It's just it feels weird playing their game sometimes.
When Xbox first came out, right? The people who own like actually fronted and created or was called to make this game or to make this console, they were trying to emulate other consoles. So that's why you got a little taste of of being in the gaming industry. They put what do you call it, Ninja Gaiden 2 on there, 1 and 2, because they were like, oh, I see people like that. We need a first person game, or a first party game, which is Halo. But they only pushed Halo because Halo pushed Xbox Live. Nobody was really playing games online like that, but they needed to give a reason for you to pay for Xbox Live. And that was the perfect reason.
But okay, like when Xbox 360 like hit, bro, like, okay, because the Xbox original its lifespan was like 2 seconds. So 360 came out, and then like I didn't know at the time because I'm just watching G4 TV, bro. Like I don't even have internet at the freaking time. So I'm just looking at this stuff and I see BioShock and I see what was the other one? Mass Effect. And I didn't even understand the concept of time exclusives. They really built a lot of their brand off of those times exclusives because I really thought BioShock and Mass Effect were 100% exclusive. And then boom, a few years later it comes out on PS3. I'm like, damn, what the hell's going on?
Do you know why it worked out for them for Xbox 360?
Yeah.
Why everybody flocked to Xbox 360? Because the budgets were too fucking high for a console to be delayed. They were already making the game and they had a certain time frame to release these games. Guess who was there? It was Microsoft. Where the console was relatively the same power, right? So they were like, well, fuck it. It didn't take much for Microsoft to do. If you want your game now, you could do this. So there was so many clauses with making a game on Xbox. You could not use Blu-ray. You could not use the features of another competition, you know what I mean, or competitor, rather. You had to do it their way because they were first. And Microsoft was like, you want these 10 million? This potential 10 million? Well, you're going to have to play by our rules. And then look at Sony. They're going to try to release a $600 console. I mean, do you really think your game is going to be successful?
Right, it came out a year later.
And it came out a year later. So they had a deadline. They had to release it so they can recoup off of these crazy ass fucking development costs.
But I mean, you look at the PS3 versus its time, bro. And this is why like people tell me certain consoles are the best. I got to put PS3 outside of the price. Like PS3 was ridiculous in its time. Like it came out with the most elite specs. Like it didn't make any sense. Built-in Wi-Fi. You didn't need an Ethernet cable. You did with Xbox. It had Blu-ray. It just blew shit out the water, bro. Like it blew shit out the water. But you couldn't afford it though. You couldn't afford it.
Me and my friend Dubug, or Ken, we talked about this a couple of days ago, and I'll just give you a quick rundown. I was in the console wars since Genesis, right? And Game Boy and Game Gear. I was in it all the way back then, right? And it was never this bad. But you know what happened? Social media and people wanted to take the high ground. So when Sony released the price for the PlayStation and made all these lofty like things, people were like, "This is going to be expensive." And then we had the recession in 2008, right? People were like, yo, Sony's trying to take advantage of us. We don't want Blu-ray. HD or DVDs is just good enough. It's good enough. I don't care about Wi-Fi. I have all these Ethernet cords in my house. I'm cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Why are you forcing this down our fucking throat? This console looks like George Foreman. I don't like this shit. They were just making all sorts of shit about the fucking console, right? Yeah. And then if you peep what they were doing with GameStop, right? In Electronic Boutique, Microsoft will go to these corporations and ask these companies, EB and GameStop, to put their demos in games first.
Damn.
If you remember, when you walked into the store, you will see Xbox shit first.
Everywhere.
It was because of Microsoft.
Like my mom legit bought me We told her we wanted a PS3 because it was Infamous and all of this cool ass games. She was like, okay, here comes Christmas. We get an Xbox 360. I was like, what the hell? She was like, the guy at the counter was like, Xbox is better. I said, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, they wouldn't get paid, but they would get gift bags. And I would see those lanyards. They would be Xbox lanyards and all these little things that they would have. They were doing some scummy shit behind the scenes, but it was all business. I get it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's happening with Xbox. That's why it looks corporate. When at the time they were trying to emulate what other companies were doing, which were actual game companies. Over time, when they made the Xbox 360 and they got through Xbox Live, the statistics of what people were actually doing, you found out that most people, because Netflix, there were no smart TVs like that. So you needed a console to run Netflix digitally.
Right.
Towards the end of the life cycle of Xbox 360, most people were actually, because the game started to dry up, most gamers were actually watching Netflix because that was a new cool thing to fucking do. You know what I'm saying? Is to watch Netflix. People would have an Xbox just for a Netflix machine. And guess what? You had to pay Xbox Live to even do that shit because you couldn't use it. And they just recently took that shit off this generation.
That's
you know
crazy.
what I'm saying? You know,
Hey,
so
this is gonna sound super anecdotal, but I feel like all my niggas that I know that have an Xbox, they just be playing 2K and Madden, I swear.
because
all my niggas that
Call
have a
of Duty.
PlayStation, they just actually play like games.
because the thing is, the nostalgia is a bitch. Damn, I'm gonna cut it off because I don't want to waste your time and shit like that. But here's the thing: nostalgia is a bitch. Most of these Xbox people, they don't play games because they're older, and Microsoft build their community based off of online games. They don't have time to do it. Some people don't have time. They have families at this point. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the times they just talk to each other and don't really play games or play light games. They don't buy games like that. It was the PlayStation because they didn't have a good online infrastructure that bought games and wanted that experience. And Nintendo, they buy games too, but they only buy first party games because that's what they know.
That makes too much sense.
That's what they're doing. So a lot of these Xbox people, they don't really, you can tell by the numbers. That's why it looks crazy when when each company shows them where the slices are. 43% on PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? 20% on PC and 7 to 10% on. They don't do it.
Damn.
That's what's happening. They just don't. And it's because of Microsoft wanting so badly for you to pay for Xbox Live. They literally build their ecosystem, not from a game, but online competitive play. That's what they ended up doing. And it dried the fuck up.
Yo, I haven't checked with the newer consoles because I've still got the Pro and stuff. I don't have a PS5. Yo, so this current generation, our first, or what's it called, free to play games? Are they still actually free to play, or do you need to actually buy PlayStation Plus subscription and Xbox Gold or whatever it's called?
You never had to play. You never had to pay for Xbox or for PlayStation Plus to play a free to play game. It was
is it still free to play? Legit free to play?
It's still free to play on PlayStation, right? And just recently, within the last 6 to 12 months, Microsoft allowed for you when they tried to raise Xbox Live to basically $100, and everybody screamed.
Damn.
They said, my bad. We didn't mean to do that. It's going to stay $60. And now you can watch Netflix and play free to play games on Live Silver. That's what they ended up saying. It took dude.
That took years,
bro. You want to know how many? You want to know how many years it took? 19 years before they changed it.
That doesn't make any sense, bro. Like, because I was tripping at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was tripping that you had to pay. Like, it's free to play, but we got to pay for Xbox. I was tripping on that. I was like, what? You got to pay to play a free game?
It didn't make any sense because, again, when you first started playing multiplayer games, because Sony didn't have their shit together, people thought back in the day that when you paid $50 at the time, Xbox Live was $49.99. When you paid Xbox Live, people thought that their games were on dedicated servers. And when Digital Foundry and other outlets explained that it wasn't, that people automatically assume, well, I'm paying because we have an infrastructure.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure is more stable than PSN, which it wasn't historically. So
yeah, it was free though. Like PSN was free at the time.
It was free. So thank Microsoft for making Sony pay for that, making Sony charge for that. So here's the thing, right? Because they would have got their money other ways. But here's the thing, right? And to be honest with you, they don't get their money really from PlayStation Plus. They get their money from microtransactions, like 60% of it. And then the other, like the 20% of it is the cut that they get from the games they put on the store. And then it's just like some PlayStation Plus for people actually buying it for that one. That's the cut. That's the division for it, right? You want to know something crazy? This outrage, I'm going to put it all together. Let me close it out. The outrage for needing to be online for Gran Turismo sucks, right? You need to be online for Gran Turismo, right?
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah,
it sucks. But here's the thing. Everyone already knew that Gran Turismo from Sport was going to be a live game, or what do you call it? Games as a service, a live games as a service. We already knew that. But people are so fixated on how the old Gran Turismos worked. And they always had microtransactions too. But you want to know what the real gut puncher is? Nobody ever talks about the fact that you need to have an online connection to play all Xbox games.
Oh, for real? Is that true?
That's true.
No, you're lying, bro.
I am not lying.
No way.
I'm not lying.
Are you serious?
It checks up on you every 24 hours.
Fucked up.
But nobody complains about it. And this is why channels like this and other people want to make people know that their people's frustration are misplaced.
That's actually fucked up.
I mean, I feel like I think the era of the PS3 and 360 was very indicative of the how the companies were going to move forward. Because if you saw the early success of the 360, and of course Sony caught up, but Sony had to be very consumer friendly in order to actually catch up. They had to drop the price. They had to come out with a lot of games. Like some games were releasing on top of each other that some people didn't even know released. Like, and so like you look at the next generation, Xbox comes on E3 stage, like, yeah, we can do whatever the hell we want to, television, sports, Call of Duty, and whatever, you're going to buy it because we're Xbox. We look at last generation, we sold it. While Sony was still kind of like, we got to win these guys over. So come with the low price, come with all of this stuff, and look very consumer friendly. Boom. Xbox dies that generation, basically. Sony prevails. And then now you're looking at like, people are like how your title is, corporate greed or whatever. Now you're looking at, okay, Sony won back the consumer. Now it looks like they're going back to the corporate kind of way, which they were going to do that from the beginning, but they couldn't because they would have cannibalized their entire image. So it's just like they had to take more calculated risks as far as like what they're going to do as far as making more money for themselves versus Xbox is kind of like already anti-consumer kind of. So the boom. I mean, you look at it like that. And Sony, of course, has all the first-party games, and it just looks like they're a much more better platform to play on. So it makes the blow a little bit like less, but that's why I think now people are starting to like question, is Sony like, are they still for the gamer? I mean, yes, but they also are a corporation.
They would have to be for the gamer because guess why? Who the fuck is going to put stitches and cars for Gran Turismo? You can see the little stitches and dots and smudges and all sorts of shit. You don't have to do that.
They're not cutting back. Yeah, they're not cutting back on their
when Aloy's sweating and shit like that. You don't have to do that. You know what I mean? Some of the fucking animals in Forbidden West look like you could they can be in a fucking hunting game. They're so fucking detailed.
Right.
Regular NPCs look like they can have their own fucking game. You know what I'm saying? You got fucking, what do you call it? The Last of Us Part 2, and they have all these crazy motion captures, and when they kiss, their nose presses up. They don't have to do any of that shit.
Yeah, no, you're right.
They're doing it. They have to strike a medium. They have to they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for the money and the goodwill, of course. We get that. Of course. I mean, it's a business, but they have to make sure they strike in the middle.
They have to have a happy medium. Yeah.
And people were asking Sony to be more transparent. And Sony was like, okay, I'm going to tell you this ahead of time that we're going to work on games as a service and 10 of them. But don't think that we're going to stop making regular games because that's what we're built on. No one else is in this field doing what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So we're the only one. And that's why we're successful. So we already carved out a niche, but we're also going to take the type of quality you expect and make it into the games as a service. Because most of these games as a service are released like shit, and then it improves over time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Sony's like kind of game plan, and you guys could probably agree to disagree or whatever. Like you look at PS3, right? They were releasing first party games like nobody's business. It seemed like every other month.
They all had multiplayer. They all had multiplayer too. They all had multiplayer too.
And then the PS4, it really put its footprint on third party relationships, Destiny or Call of Duty or whoever the crap they had. They really cemented themselves in like, we're the console you come to play all third party games, like period. Because we have online. It's great. It's right there with Xbox Live, blah, blah, blah. PS5 seems to be like, okay, we're trying to establish everything. Like, even if you don't have Call of Duty and even if you don't have, we got online games, we have service games, we have first party. Like, they're trying to really cement themselves all the way around, like period. This is the ultimate gaming experience. But I really think in that change, like everything change is a little uncomfortable. So I think in that change, people aren't going to agree originally because they got so used to a certain way. But it's evolving. Like the game is evolving, and Sony has to evolve with the times, or they're going to be left behind trying to overly please the consumer of yesteryear. Like, we want that, but do we really? Because it's going to completely destroy Sony in the future. They have to make these like kind of how they're doing with Spartacus. They have to do that. We don't want it to be super pricey, but they're going to have to do something because you see.
Do you guys think that's real? Is it real? You guys think so?
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I think so.
No,
yeah.
Spartacus is absolutely real. What is it going to be? We don't really know. But it's absolutely real.
I've seen some fake shit floating around, and I'm just like, bro, what the hell is this?
That portion ain't real, but it is coming. We don't know what it is, and it's going to combine PlayStation now, and plus we understand that, but we don't know how it's going to be, and that's fine. So I'm going to be honest. Like I said before, Sony has to do this shit to stay afloat because they almost fucking died fucking with the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, like 2011 or something.
Else. 2011, they were all the way fucked up. They had to do whatever they could. And that's what, like, I work for a company where people think, like me personally, people think that it's free. Like, we work with other companies. We're not going to buy something for $10 and give it to you for $5. That doesn't make any sense. No. You thinking that we have billions of like, I had to really explain it to a customer. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, do you call your cell phone company that's charging you $300 to talk about how high your bill is? or like, do you go to your local gas station? You're like, this gas is too high. I want it lowered. No. I be tearing them motherfuckers up, man. I don't got time for them motherfuckers. Like, stop being a fucking baby. Like, the entitlement is through the fucking roof. Now, know where you stand. That's why I always tell customers, it's always good to understand what's happening so you can feel at ease that you're not getting fucked in the ass, basically.
But the average consumer is not going to do that, bro. They're going to see what they see. They're going to go with the online outrage, and they're just going to follow. Like, like the average person is not going to dig deep into it. They're just going to kind of go with the reviews and kind of look at what everyone else is saying. And so that's where we are. I mean, I like
learning this type of shit because, again,
personally, me too.
I have my own shit that, I'm trying to do things extracurricular. You know what I mean? Like,
Game, because I have one more question for you before I dip. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So I was thinking that Insomniac, Naughty Dog, and Santa Monica, it cost Sony less than $1 billion, right?
To buy them?
Yeah, just less than $1 billion in total for all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe less than $500 million or $500 million. I'm not sure, but isn't it crazy that those three studios have a better portfolio than Activision, and Microsoft is $70 billion in the hole with Activision now?
It's crazy
because they pay $70 billion, or it's going to go through, right? So they're going to be in the hole. So Activision has to recoup that for them.
They're not ever going to be in the hole. But one thing I know about Microsoft is that they're not a forward-thinking company. You know what I'm saying? They caught Activision, and probably Activision wouldn't have sold if it wasn't for the allegations that they had. But they buy things too late. Like with Nokia, they bought that shit too late. They do things too late before they decide to change things. Even with the iPhone, when they made the Zoom, you know what I mean? They should have already capitalized on that shit. They had the money to do it. And they waited until they saw the success of iPhone before they actually fucking made a competitor that was worthy.
Is Zoom Microsoft?
That's Microsoft.
Oh, for real?
I thought they were Skype. And Skype has got replaced by Zoom.
They bought them. They bought Zoom.
Oh shit.
But I'm talking about Zoom with an N.
Oh, Zoom. I thought you meant Zoom. I was like, oh shit. I was like, damn, did they fucking buy Zoom?
The only reason why they're successful now, and it's a whole crazy conspiracy about what's going on in the world. Everyone's working from home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And most of these corporations use Windows. And so that these corporations have to pay Microsoft a lot of fucking money to get people working from home up and running. And it was guaranteed money because where else can you go? The systems are already embedded from 40, 50 years or 40 years using Microsoft shit. So
looking crazy.
You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be guaranteed money. That's why you have money to throw around. In terms of gaming, entertainment is a very fickle thing, as you can clearly see. Naughty Dog and Insomniac and Sony Monica Studios, they budget their budget very well. They make linear games, right? Because they don't have to make everything else. They can make that immediate thing that you see very, very pretty. And when it comes to Spider-Man, it's still a linear experience. And the NPCs, they don't really do anything. They're just dressing in the street. So I think the most competent studio that Sony actually has is Guerrilla Games, to be perfectly honest with you.
You're right. Wow.
Like if you also look at who is it? Like Insomniac, I guess. Hasn't like their last few games been absolutely bangers? Like everything that they've really touched. Like it's crazy. And then you look at like I wanted to make a last statement on the movie and TV universe that Sony's really diving into with their games. Like I didn't really look at like the Uncharted movie. Like I saw the trailer, I haven't actually seen the movie. It didn't look appealing, but it didn't do bad in the box office. I think it may be the most successful like game movie to date, maybe like more than Tomb Raider, more than Ratchet and Clank, more than Sonic. Like I don't know, but it's pretty interesting to look. Like Sony can look at this and say, all right, then when we're ready to make the Destiny show or movie, when we're ready to make the God of War show or movie, it's going to hit. The Last of Us HBO is going to hit. The Twisted Metal may hit. Like, I don't know. It's interesting where the Sony gaming division is going to go. Like, as far as TV and movies.
This is why the lore for all of their games, like look at God of War and its crazy lore. It is rich.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They were already planning on making shows and stuff like that on there anyway. Same thing with The Last of Us and the clickers and all the other shit. And same thing with Horizon as well. The lore for Horizon is unfucking real.
And a Horizon show would be like Disney Plus kind of.
Because you know what they can do?
Budget.
Because you know what they can do with Horizon? See, people don't understand that they could actually have a prequel to what we see in the video games and how the world collapsed.
Oh shit!
As a whole other icon, like IP. Or,
I want to see that shit.
Or right, they don't even have to have the robot dinosaurs. They can the ramifications that if you beat Forbidden West, it was so jarring in terms of people like, what the fuck is going on? Because if you read the data logs, then you already knew where the fucking story was going to go anyway. They could either do past shit, they could either do the robot dinosaur situation, or they could do fucking futuristic shit off planet. Just saying.
Yeah, I was hoping they go off planet with it for real.
But you know what I think?
Planet?
You know what I
wait.
The story.
The fuck?
Play the game, and you will see what the fuck I'm talking about.
Here's the thing,
right? They already had. If you play the first game and read the logs, or just go on YouTube and just collect all the information, just read it because they have a storyline for what happens. The storyline for Horizon basically mirrors ours. Right. So we became so complacent with technology, right?
Right.
That we started just fucking making up issues. Right?
Damn.
We started to fuck up the environment and just didn't give a fuck, right? So the environment's biome started to collapse, right? And so what they needed to do is they put all their efforts into machine learning and AI, right? So they finally got an AI to be sentient enough to understand what's going on, right?
No.
To fix the biome. Because we weren't going to do it fast enough. You needed a machine to do it along with us. So the machines started to fix the biome. And then we started using AI to help us, like the Matrix and shit like that. The surface bear and shit. The reason why the civilization collapsed is a glitch. Not because the AI went rogue. It's a glitch in our issues. And if you played the first Horizon, you will understand this. Horizon, basically, they fixed the biome. And we all went green. All of our shit was perfectly, it was green, it was in fucking the environment. But then we got so, it was nothing else to complain about. You know what I'm saying? Everything was perfect. So people start creating issues. So countries started fighting each other for stupid fucking reasons. And so because everybody was so conscious about saving life, they created these robot machines to do the fighting
the
for us.
corporations were having armies.
Right. It was the corporations. They created these machines, right, to do the fighting for us, so we won't die, right? And for a time that was good, but there was a guy that wanted to have the best machines, right? His machines could understand with the AI how the body is supposed to work in terms of the machine bodies and weight. Also, it was supposed to be able to have, it was mobile factories. It was supposed to print machines in case the other machines break up and die. And in terms of fuel, it was able to use biomass, grass, plants, animals. Nano machines would break them the fuck down and convert that into fuel. Damn. Everything was fine, right? But then it was a glitch. The AI for the battle machines, it wasn't that they were sentient. It was a glitch. The bioconversion processors wouldn't turn off. So the machines got stuck trying to create more and more of themselves. And the only thing it was trying to do is to replicate. That's all it was trying to do. In order for it to replicate, it needed biomass. So it would use these nano machines to break down entire cities and the people. And guess what? They couldn't even turn off the fucking machines because the same guy that funded this technology, he didn't want other people to hack it. So it took 50 years to hack the machines to turn them the fuck off. And they didn't have 50 years because it was going to destroy the entire Earth in 16 months.
This literally sounds like a TV show or movie. Like, this is going to be a TV show or movie, like, in like 5 years.
That's what I'm saying. So they had two options. Get the fuck off Earth, right? Or just take that L and create something that when the Earth was completely destroyed, it could just rebuild the biosphere again once it hacked into these machines and turned them off. And that's what Zero Dawn is. They knew they weren't going to live, so they created bunkers and got all of the seeds of all the plants, or most of the plants they could find, and all the zygotes for the animals and shit like that. And it was a complicated terraforming system. So when the Earth was completely ravaged, it would take 50 years to hack the machines to turn them off. Once the machines were off, then this other AI would create these recon machines to see what's going on out there. And then it started to clean up the atmosphere and water. Once the atmosphere and water was clean, then it started rewilding the environments. And then after the environments were actually teeming with life, then it was going to release the humans. But the guy that funded all of this shit, he didn't want them to see that it was his fault that he was so pretentious with his creation that he ended up, because they had like an AI module for all human knowledge. He just deleted all of it. So that's why people in Horizon are like dumb. They don't know what the fuck happened. So it looks like to them, like what happened with Egypt. We don't know how those pyramids existed. And they don't know how these machines are on this earth.
Damn.
So
that's the best part about Horizon for us.
You want to know what's crazy too? The last thing is that two of the same solutions happen. So now you got Earth back to repopulated, and you also have the same people that got the fuck off Earth.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by it can be off Earth, basically. So you can even have something that what happened and how the people actually
and the people that left, they have the database too of all the knowledge. So they have that on top of all the stuff they learned.
It's don't say too much about it, but like it's so fucking crazy. So that's why they have that synergy. But you want to know something? Last thing, I swear this. You want to know something? Why they picked Tom Holland to do Uncharted?
Is he popular right now? I guess
He's fucking popular right now.
Yeah.
That was it.
I mean, because they already do business with him with fucking Spider-Man too. So I mean,
but they wanted people to see. Oh, is that Spider-Man? What's this movie?
Right.
Let me see what this shit is. Oh, it's not Spider-Man, but it's a good movie. Okay.
Tom Holland has a ridiculous fan base. I mean, they're the younger demographic or whatever, but he has a huge fan base. Like
that's why it's the only reason why he doesn't look like Drake.
He doesn't, bro.
So they had to create a whole story as to why he doesn't look like Drake. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And it kind of, because like if you even people say, okay, he can grow with the role. I mean, Tom Holland's he's one of those permanent baby face dudes. Like he's gonna look like a grown ass baby for the next forever, bro. Like he's not gonna I don't think he's gonna ever look like, let's say like Mark Wahlberg or whatever. He's not gonna look like that in 10 years. Like he's gonna still look like a baby, maybe with a beard now. Like I don't even know if he can grow a beard. Like I don't bro. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's one of those things.
But that's what they're doing.
I understand.
But that's why they did it, because it worked. It worked so fucking well. It got a sequel.
It did.
And no matter how many people try to shit on it, money talks.
They made a lot of money.
The same thing with Gran Turismo. Money fucking talks. So you can get mad all you want. You talk about microtransactions. They talk about I should be able to play my games when I don't have internet, but you also should actually talk to Microsoft about playing all your games if you don't have any internet.
So crazy.
Just saying. Well, we're going to end that shit here, guys.
Hey, great podcast, man. Thank you for letting me on.
No, not at all. Not at all. Thank you so much for actually making it really fucking lively. I was kind of like, it was kind of like dead a little bit. You know what I mean? I was like, let me get this shit over. I'm trying to, kind of turn this shit off.
I try to ask good questions. I try to just chime in a little bit. Just try to.
I'm gonna come in with the questions every time, bro, because I love questions. I love to get answers, bro. So whoever knows some shit, just tell me. I like to know shit.
I try my best to like know shit, and as you can probably already tell, I ain't no slouch in my knowledge. Like I try to understand what's happening with the industry and shit like that. Anyway, this is all interesting to me. It's interesting because I have my own business I'm trying to work on. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to create my own OnlyFans account. You know what I'm saying? And I need to know how to fuck what you guys say. Or
only gamers.
Or am I? No, play. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for showing up.